Let me share. There it is. Lionel Henry, hello. Welcome. Glad you could be here. I'm just going to share the links on the socials media. Finish up my banana, which I should have done before I started streaming. But we get off to a slow start here, so it's okay. It's fine. All right, what do I want to say? I'll just say the standard thing, you know. What is the standard thing? We're live again. Exclamation point. Very important. Come hang out and talk movies. Another exclamation point. Very important. Sure, whatever. Fine, it's fine. Just post it. I don't care. Who else here? Whoa, hello. Eddie Moriarty. Hey, Henry, hope all is well. How's Portland treating you? Not too bad. I could be treating myself better, however. I had donuts for dinner last night, and now I feel like complete crap today. My body is just, it is not too happy with me today. So dealing with that. I wish I could have one stream where I just feel okay, but that's the way it's been going the last couple weeks. Oh well. Lionel Henry, did you see The Disaster Artist? What did you think of it? I have not yet seen The Disaster Artist, unfortunately. I was planning on seeing it last weekend, but you know how things are often, you know, it doesn't go according to plan. So yeah, we actually didn't get a chance to go see The Disaster Artist last weekend. We're planning on seeing it maybe this weekend or at some point next week. We are going to see it though. I really want to. Been hearing great things about it, and it looks really good. So I'm very excited for that one. There's a lot playing right now that looks extremely good. Lady Bird, I really want to see. That's still playing here. Hoping to catch that one. Hoping to catch the Florida Project before that goes. Gosh, what else? Shape of Water is opening soon. That looks so good. I'm so excited for Shape of Water. One of the movies I saw last night, actually, managed to catch it just last night. Let me see. I got the tickets over here. Save my tickets. Yeah, managed to catch 3 billboards. Let me see myself, my feed. There it is. There I am. I managed to catch 3 billboards outside Ebbing, Missouri, which was excellent. I can talk more about that later. This was an excellent film. Maybe Martin McDonagh's best so far. But before 3 billboards, there was a trailer for Shape of Water. And I'm conflicted because it was one of those trailers that basically gives you the whole story. So I was kind of like, oh, damn it. I'm learning basically everything that happens in the plot. I'm not too happy about that. But oh my God, it looked so good. After seeing that trailer, I'm more excited than ever for Shape of Water. I want to see it so bad. But yeah, 3 billboards was great. Disaster Artist is probably going to be the next thing I see in theaters. And we also, spur of the moment, decided to go see Coco, the new Pixar movie, which was also very good. I enjoyed that one quite a bit as well. Ooh, what else we got going on in the chat? Corey Wilder. I just started It Comes at Night, but then saw you were streaming. Well, I'm sorry to interrupt. That's a pretty damn good movie. So I'm sorry to interrupt that, but I'm glad you're here nonetheless. And also go ahead and finish the banana. We'll wait. Okay, yeah. Do need to finish this. I'm hoping it kind of does something to settle my stomach. Those donuts are not sitting well. Cinnamon San, hi there. Greetings from the Netherlands. Greetings right back at you. I reciprocate your greetings from the US. Jackie, hello, welcome. And young Peter Roll, too, hello. Damn, I hate trailers that give away a lot. Me too. Me too. Kind of disappointed by that. I know basically the whole story now for Shape of Water. Not too happy about that. But oh, it looks so good. I want to see the full thing now. I'm really, really hyped. Really hyped for it. Cinnamon San, seen Killing of a Sacred Deer this week, among others. That's a great one. What else have you managed to catch? Yeah, I saw Killing of a Sacred Deer, is it 2 weeks ago now? So that was a great one. Anyone gets a chance to see this one, if you like messed up stuff, this will be right up your alley. That was a great film. Cinnamon Sand, thought it was good. Oh, okay, I'm assuming Sacred Deer, thought it was good. Excellent. Let's see. Lionel Henry, A24, killing it again this year. Yeah, they're one of those companies. They're putting out some pretty damn good stuff pretty consistently. Very impressive. They're becoming, yeah, definitely one of the exciting modern indie companies, which there seems to be a lot of them now. It's really exciting that the business, the industry is kind of like, I get just changing and evolving more now to where there's that space and there's that potential for companies like A24 or Neon. I've been seeing has been putting out some very cool stuff. Gosh, what else? Bloomhouse, a lot of really cool, like smaller, more independent companies to put out a lot of great films by like auteur directors, really different kind of stuff, unique that caters to a very unique sensibility and an offbeat taste. It's really cool. We're seeing a lot of really great, like more esoteric films the last few years, and it's really awesome to see. Makes for a fun time as a cinema goer. Young Peter Roll watched Badlands yesterday. Such a gorgeous film and an awesome soundtrack. Yeah, that is a really good one. I love especially the repeated use of, the hell is it? Carl Orff's, I cannot remember the name of the song, but it's like the bump 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 bump. I think I'm doing it wrong, but that track that repeats over and over again throughout Badlands, I really enjoy that motif. I tried to figure out a way to work it in to talk about it in the recommends video, but you know, I try to keep those short. Sometimes I can't fit in all the thoughts I want. I'm kind of disappointed with the Badlands video I did put out there. I feel like I focused a little too much on production history and stuff and not enough on just my own opinion and reaction to the film, but live and learn. You know, you make mistakes, you try to make the next thing better. But yeah, I'm hoping to cover Days of Heaven. I got a stack of movies that I want to cover here. I'm going to do Woman in the Dunes. I'm going to do Darren Aronofsky's Pi up top there, and Days of Heaven right here. Hoping to cover all those. Mohi, oh gosh, I'm so sorry if I say your name wrong, which I'm sure I am. Mohi Taheri. Hi, hello, welcome. I just started making a storyboard for a short film. Very cool. Awesome, man. Making a movie seems so hard. It is. It can be a nightmare. But you know, that's part of it. Part of making movies is also learning how to deal, yeah, with the stress and the complications and everything else. But yeah, the only way you get good at it and the only way you learn is by doing it and making mistakes and then just taking that wisdom you gain and applying it to the next thing. So I mean, you just gotta jump into it, man. You just gotta jump into it and try your best to stay afloat. That's really all I can say, unfortunately. You really can't predict everything that's gonna go wrong and everything that's you're gonna have to deal with. You just gotta, yeah, try to roll with the punches, do your best. Whoops. I need to blow my nose real quick, so I'm going to mute the microphone, step off for a second. Oh, good Lord, I'm such a disgusting mess. All right, let's try and get comfortable here. Film Persona. I wonder if you ever saw Lars von Trier's The Idiots. I think it would be a good one for your Art House Fever series, Dogville, as well. I have seen Lars von Trier's The Idiots. That's kind of a hard one to get a hold of in the US. I did manage to find a DVD, though. Where'd it go? Yeah, I got this a little while ago. I forget where it's from. Canada? Not sure. It's region 1. But yeah, it's kind of a hard one to find in the original director's cut, and also in the original Danish language with English subtitles, and yeah, and the correct aspect ratio. This was about the only disc I could find that would play in my players that would give me, you know, the original movie as it was intended to be seen. But I did manage to track one down, and I watched it years and years ago. Didn't really get it. Didn't really care for it either, but it's been a long time, and I don't really remember very much of it. So I would like to rewatch it and see if my opinion on it has changed or evolved in any way. It's one I need to revisit. But yeah, I remember it was kind of an endeavor, like tracking down a disc that, yeah, would be what I'm looking for. Got a couple of those. I've got the Ken Park DVD, but that's kind of a graphic cover. I don't know if I could show that on YouTube. I think that's a Russian DVD, which for some reason plays in Region A players. But yeah, that's the only, like, gosh, Ken Park it hasn't been released in very many countries, period. And even then, it's often released in heavily censored forms. So that was kind of a hard one to track down, uncensored and in English. But I eventually found that one as well. I've got a couple others too. Yeah, people keep telling me to make a video on my movie collection, and I keep putting it off, and I keep forgetting, but I should probably do that one of these days. Johnny Ray Brawley, favorite movie of the year so far? For me, it's been Good Time. Saw it a week ago, and it was brilliant. Great balance of tone. Delivered all the neon lights and synth music a boy could ask for. It sounds good. I really want to see it. I still haven't seen Good Time. Need to get that one. I might need to rent a DVD or Blu-ray from the library. I haven't gotten my library card for this area yet, so I'm still setting that up. But once I do that, I can start getting a hold of movies and watching more stuff. And hopefully, yeah, more newer stuff like that too. Need to see Good Time. Need to see A Ghost Story. I've heard that's very good. Gosh, what else? I had a whole list worked out of other things. And yeah, still got my watch list here from all the other streams. Happy Death Day, Phase 4, and the Crosswind, Pusher. Did I say Thelma? Gosh, what else? Yeah, some of these other things. Spring. I saw Spring is available at the library collective around here. Gosh, what else? A lot of stuff. Personal Shopper. Got to see that. Boy. Yeah, some of this other stuff. Oh, Congress. I know that was available. Some of this other stuff I'm going to have to, like Angel's Egg, I'm going to have to go to Movie Madness, the rental store, for some of that stuff. They've got rarer, harder to find titles. And I love supporting video stores. There aren't too many left around anymore, but I do love supporting video stores. But Johnny Ray also asked me favorite movie of the year so far. Gosh, somebody asked me this last week, and I didn't really have an answer then either. Maybe Blade Runner 2049. I like that one quite a bit. I was totally blown away by that one. So I guess if I had to pick one, if my back was against the wall, I'd probably go with that one. But I'm not too sure. I haven't seen a lot of stuff this year. I'm starting to see more, you know, now that it's award season, and I'm seeing some pretty damn good movies. Yes, Killing of a Sacred Deer and 3 Billboards, those were both excellent. If I were to make a list of the best of the year, they would definitely go on there. Definitely Blade Runner. Baby Driver was also very good. But gosh, my memory is not what it used to be. I need to sit down, make a list of everything I saw this year, and then yeah, try to figure it out. But I guess just unofficially, I might say Blade Runner. I thought that was an absolute masterpiece. I really responded to it very strongly. I love cyberpunk. I love sci-fi. I love Denis Villeneuve. So Blade Runner 2049 kind of had all the right ingredients for me, and like, big themes and ideas, a hard sci-fi tone. I really loved it. I just totally appealed directly to my sensibilities. So probably Blade Runner, but I don't know. I'd have to really consider it if I were to pick like official like favorite of the year. But if you need an answer, I'll go with Blade Runner for now. But we still got more stuff coming out this year. And like I said, Shape of Water looks very good. So I'm excited for that one and a few others too. So we'll see. But I guess right now I'll just say Blade Runner. But take it with a grain of salt. Let's see. What else? Oh, Cinnamon Sand. I saw City of Ghosts. And a Belgian drama called, Vele Hemels Boven de Zevende, if you can read that. Sorry, I'm sure I butchered that title, but I tried my best. It literally means many heavens above the seventh. Interesting. So I'm guessing they were both good, hopefully. Let's hope they were good. I am not familiar with either of those. Should probably write them down. I like being in the know on these things. City of Ghosts. City of Ghosts. Are these Scandinavian movies? Are they Dutch movies? I'm guessing Many Heavens Above the Seventh is probably a Dutch movie. Many Heavens. Heavens Above the Seventh. Gosh, what's the other one I've been hearing a lot of great stuff about? Call Me by Your Name. That one too. I've been waiting for that one. I don't know if I missed it, if it already played in Portland and it's already gone, or if it's still yet to come to Portland, but I really want to see that one too. Call Me by Your Name. Gosh, I know there's some other stuff coming too. Wes Anderson's new one, Isle of Dogs. And I know a few others. Too. Spielberg's got a new one, apparently. I knew nothing about this one. Did anyone know Spielberg was releasing a movie this month? I had no idea. For me, it just came out of the blue. Suddenly, there's a new Meryl Streep, Tom Hanks, Steven Spielberg film. And I was just like, when did he make this? I thought Ready Player One was his next movie. That totally took me by surprise. But I want to see that one too. My brother and Felix, they've convinced me to sign up for Movie Pass. So I just filled out my application for that, and they're going to send me the card. So I'm going to hopefully, start using that so that I don't bankrupt myself going to see too many movies. So hopefully that will be of some use. They rave about it. They say Movie Pass is great, so I'm going to give it a shot. But yeah, a lot of stuff out right now, a lot of stuff coming out that I really want to see. Just hope I have the funds to be able to do it. Corey Wilder. Henry, have you seen any interesting implementations of film and VR? I have not as of yet. I don't have any VR technology. I don't think I've ever really, because I know I had a friend that has some VR stuff, but I've never actually used it myself. So I don't really, that's kind of a realm I have yet to really get into. But I've been hearing some interesting things about some VR stuff that's starting to come out, especially the Alejandro Gonzalez Iñárritu short that he did in VR. I've heard that is supposed to be amazing. So I'd like to see some of this stuff, but I do not yet have a way. And also I heard like the Iñárritu thing was kind of like an installation. It's kind of interactive as well. I don't know too much about it. I don't know too much, about VR and all this other stuff. But yeah, I have yet to really experience VR filmmaking as of yet. Maybe one of these days, but not yet. I don't think I've ever worn a VR headset. I've never even played a VR game, so kind of a virgin when it comes to all that stuff. So sorry. Um, oh, Young Peter Roll. That same song was in True Romance. That's right. I was going to mention that. The song from Badlands, the Carl Orff composition. Yeah, they also use the same composition in Tony Scott's True Romance, which has a very Badlands feel to it, although, of course, very much done in the sensibilities of Quentin Tarantino. It's a strongly Quentin Tarantino movie. It just happens to be directed by Tony Scott, but that's a really good film, too. And yeah, really excellent reappropriation of that song, kind of paying homage to Badlands. But yeah, that's a good one too. Cinnamon San also saw Battle of the Sexes. Yeah, I've heard that's good too. Oh, thought it was amusing, but not very special. That's too bad. I've been hearing good things about it. Might go see that one. I don't know. Money is an issue, and also time. You know, everyone's got work. I don't have a car. So I'm kind of reliant upon my brother and Felix, you know, to give me rides to the theaters and everything. So it's kind of a situation where all three of us, our schedules have to sync up and we all go see a movie together. That's really the only way we can do it right now. So I don't know if we'll have time to see everything we want to see. But yeah, if we get the chance, I would like to see Battle of the Sexes as well. Film Persona. I wanted to know if you ever came around to seeing Costa Rica's Underground. I remember you saying you were going to watch it a while ago. I did say that, and I still haven't. I need to take a look at the libraries, though, to see if any Costa Rica stuff is available. But I'm going to write that down again. Underground, to remind myself. Yeah, I'll have to look into that, see if I can find it. I still haven't seen Underground. I did see Costa Rica's the American one he did with Johnny Depp. What was that one called? I'm trying to remember. It had Faye Dunaway, Johnny Depp, Jerry Lewis, Vincent Gallo, and it was actually a really good movie. Arizona Dream, that's what it's called, Arizona Dream, which I really enjoyed. I thought, yeah, that was a very strange, eccentric, highly original film. I really enjoyed that one. So yeah, I definitely want to check out some of his other stuff. Yeah, Underground in particular, I'm really interested in seeing. Got to try and track down a copy, though. Oh, God, I still haven't shared this on Tumblr. I should do that real quick. Okay. Paste the link. Still there. Live. Again. Oops. Again. Coming out and talk movies. That is an order. Sure. Here you go. All right, taken care of. Let's see. Johnny Ray Brawley, wintertime bungs up my nose real bad. Yeah, I've got allergies. I'm a mess. Winter is not friendly to me, nor is spring. I kind of have allergies year round. There's never a time when I'm just like, yeah, I'm all good. Nothing wrong now. It's always something. Jackie, Henry, are you a fan of John Cassavetes? I'm a big fan of his work and plan on rewatching a couple of his movies in honor of his birthday today. That's right. I've been seeing, yeah, some birthday posts on social media. I'm actually not that familiar with Cassavetes' work. I know of him, and I know of his influence, and I have the Cassavetes box set from Criterion right there. Bing, bing, bing. That one right there. But I have yet to really go through the whole set. I think I've seen Shadows, and I've seen Faces, and I've seen about half of A Woman Under the Influence. I never finished it for some reason, and that was a while ago. But I've been really wanting to go through everything in the set. I still haven't watched, Killing of a Chinese Bookie. Haven't watched Opening Night. I need to see those. So yeah, Cassavetes is one I have yet to really dive into and really explore his work. But what I've seen, I am a fan of, and I'm an admirer of what he did, in the time that he did it, kind of giving birth to the American independent film scene, just being one of the very first people, like high-profile people, to kind of take all this money he was making as an actor in Hollywood and then just go out, rent some equipment, get a few of his actor buddies, and just go out and make a film, you know, on the streets of New York and try to make it raw and honest and explore things that you couldn't explore in those larger movies. So I have a great deal of respect for that, and it's easy to see, you know, the influence he's had in the decades following that work that he created. But unfortunately, as of yet, you know, I have yet to really explore his work and build, you know, my own reaction to it and my own like really strong opinion of it. So that's something I'm gonna have to do one of these days fairly soon. I have to make time for that. But yeah, the Criterion box set is a great place to start, and he's got a bunch of other stuff that I need to see too. What is it called? Minnie and Moskowitz, one with Jenna Rollins, and what's that one? Gloria. I think that's another one he did. It was remade as Julia with Tilda Swinton, which was an excellent and very underseen movie. Tilda Swinton and Julia. That's a terrific film. He also did Husbands. No, not Husbands. No, yeah, Husbands. I was thinking of the Woody Allen movie, Husbands and Wives. But Cassavetes also did one called Husbands. And I think he did a few others too. But yeah, again, I'm just not as familiar with his oeuvre as I should be. But yeah, I'm going to have to at least go through that Criterion box set, watch all those damn things, revisit Shadows and Faces. It's been years since I've seen those. So yeah, that's a gap in my film experience, definitely. Cinnamon Sand. Oh yeah, I watched Wonder. That's right. Yeah, the inspirational one about the kid. Didn't like it at all. Oh, sorry to hear that. Too sweet and manipulative, in my opinion. A very safe crowd pleaser, not for my taste. Oh well. Nothing you can do about that, right? If it's not your thing, it's not your thing. Oh well. That's too bad. Johnny Ray Brawley, did you move recently? I did. Moved from my small hometown of Coos Bay to Portland, larger city. More of, yeah, cinema scene, art scene. Hopefully, yeah, place I can feel more at home, explore my interests, and hopefully, I'm hoping once I kind of get situated, you know, and get everything, you know, kind of settled, I'm hoping to find some work on like some local productions or indie stuff or whatever. You know, start making the connections and networking and everything, and yeah, hopefully, yeah, start making my own movies at some point. I'm hoping I can make that happen. But yeah, have yet to really get into that. Still just trying to get settled with a job and the new place and, you know, everything. It's a process. But yeah, I'm hoping that's the plan, hopefully. Whoops. Okay, where was I? Ah, yes. Young Peter Roll, I hear Good Time pays homage to After Hours. I have not heard that. It's interesting, though. Yeah, After Hours, one of the underappreciated Scorsese films of the 80s, which was kind of a turbulent time for him, as he was doing really inconsistent stuff in the 80s. But yeah, After Hours is an interesting one. Oh, Johnny Ray Brawley, haven't seen After Hours yet. Need to get on that, but definitely heard it compared to it in reviews. Oh, interesting. So that kind of gives me more of an idea of what the film is like. After Hours, interesting. Mohi Taheri, again, sorry for butchering your name. I apologize. What do you think about Michel Gondry? I love his Science of Sleep, even more than Eternal Sunshine. It seems so honest and pure, but Mood Indigo gave me a headache. That's too bad. Michel Gondry, I have not seen very many of his films. He's definitely an eccentric. He's definitely an original. So I respect that about him. But I think the only film of his that I've actually seen is Eternal Sunshine, which is a good movie, a really innovative movie in a lot of ways. A great Charlie Kaufman script, really great performances, and yeah, really clever direction from Gondry. But it's been years and years since I've watched it, so I don't really have like a fresh reaction. Yeah, I just have like very ancient memories of watching it probably more than a decade ago. So that's probably one I need to revisit. And yeah, I haven't seen Science of Sleep. I haven't seen Mood Indigo. I haven't seen any of his other stuff. So I'm gonna have to write down Michel Gondry, try and see more of his work. Yeah, another one I'm not so familiar with. But he seems to be kind of one of those filmmakers that's very polarizing. People either seem to love his stuff or they seem to absolutely hate it. I guess with really eccentric kind of filmmakers, people, you know, with very strong personalities and very kind of like I guess exuberant creative attitudes, they tend to do that to people. It's just like some people find them absolutely irritating and want nothing to do with them, and other people love it. It's like exactly their thing, and they can't get enough of it. I think a recent filmmaker that kind of fits into that that category is probably Max Landis. He's been writing scripts for movies that I haven't really seen. I think he wrote Chronicle, which I haven't seen. He wrote American Ultra, which I haven't seen, and a few others. But I did just recently watch on Netflix his directorial debut, Me, Him, Her, which I thought, you know, was kind of uneven, but it had its own voice. You know, it had some genuinely clever moments. I thought it revealed, you know, a filmmaker with a lot of potential, a lot of talent, a lot of originality, and just irrepressible creative energy. So there were things in it that I responded to and that I liked and that I enjoyed. And then I went on Letterboxd and was looking at some of the reviews, and holy shit, people are so harsh on that movie, and especially on Max Landis. It's like they get really personal. It's like 1-star reviews, half-star reviews. Screw Max Landis. I hate him. I can't stand him. This movie's trash. This movie's garbage. It's like, wow, I can't believe the reaction is that strong, like that intensely negative. Because I didn't think it was a bad movie at all. It's definitely not going to be to everyone's taste, but just how intensely so many people seem to dislike that movie, and Max Landis in particular. It's kind of shocking to me. I don't really understand why, but I guess just with people like that, you know, with really eccentric creative people, I guess that can happen sometimes, really divide the audience and really create some intensely negative reactions. I don't know, but it's interesting to me. It's interesting to look at and to try to understand. I don't know if anyone else has seen Me, Him, Her, but it's definitely one, that divides into very strongly opposed camps. Although it seems to be mostly negative, unfortunately. But I think it's worth a look. If you have Netflix, I think it is worth checking out, at least giving a shot. You know, it's different. You got to give it that. It's very different. Film Persona. I recommend you see The River by, oh God, Tsai Ming Liang from 1997. I'm sure I said that name wrong. A filmmaker, I believe I've heard the name, but I don't think I've seen any of his stuff. It made a really great impression on me when I first watched it. It is now in my top 10 favorite films ever. One of the best filmmakers ever. Gosh, yeah, and I don't think I've seen any of this filmmaker's movies either. I'll write that down. The River. Gotta look into that. The River. Okay. The watch list grows and grows and grows. Zach Hayes. I was going to see The Disaster Artist and The Shape of Water today, but I don't know if I want to deal with the holiday traffic. So I decided to just rest today, maybe tomorrow. Fair enough. Fair enough. Nothing wrong, yeah, with just taking a day off. You know, just taking it easy. I can definitely relate to that. But yeah, hopefully you do get to see those movies. Hopefully I do too. I really want to see them. And hopefully they're good, right? Hopefully they're good. Cinnamon Sand. Oh, City of Ghosts is a documentary about the resistance against ISIS. Holy shit. Some very harsh images in it, but it was an impressive documentary, I thought. It sounds important too. I can't believe I haven't heard of this. I'll definitely have to look into that though. See if I can find that. Sounds interesting. Zach Hayes. Oh, they've started to have midnight screenings of The Room. So I kind of want to see that with a huge audience before The Disaster Artist. That's definitely an experience. It's one of those Rocky Horror Picture things where the audience, the fan base, really kind of transforms the movie into something completely different, into really an experience beyond just the film itself. But I've heard they're very fun. I've never been to one myself. I've been to some Rocky Horror screenings, and those are a lot of fun. And I've heard The Room is very similar, but my brother's been to a bunch. He's met Tommy Wiseau. He's met Greg Sestero, the author of the book, The Disaster Artist. And yeah, has had some very interesting experiences. He always has a great time at The Room screenings. So yeah, if you can, yeah, get into one of those screenings, I'm sure you'll have a blast. And it'll give you more of an appreciation, I'm sure, for The Disaster Artist. I've heard it's Disaster Artist is really one. The more you know about The Room and the more you know about Wiseau, the more you enjoy the film. Oh, Johnny Ray Brawley, what's your most unpopular film opinion? I don't like Charlie Kaufman. Oh boy. I see the merits in his writing, but I find it too nihilistic, and his characters self-loathing to an irritating extent. Okay, fair enough. You know, everyone has their own tastes. That's not a bad thing. I am personally a fan of Charlie Kaufman. I love Being John Malkovich. I love Adaptation. Synecdoche, New York, I think is great. What is the stop motion one? Anomalisa, I thought was a terrific one. So I disagree with you there, but hey, this is a place for everyone voicing their opinions and for, yeah, mutual respect back and forth. But unpopular film opinion, I'm trying to think. Definitely the fact that I am a fan of M. Night Shyamalan has definitely led to some arguments with people in my experience. Not really online so much, which is nice, but definitely, you know, when I'm having face-to-face conversations, and I'll say like, well, you know, it's a really great movie, this M. Night Shyamalan movie. I was a fan of After Earth, for instance. I even liked the elevator one that he wrote, Devil. I thought that was a fun one. And every time I bring that up, the reaction is just like, oh, God, you're crazy. Get out of here. I always have to defend that. So I guess that's a pretty unpopular opinion. Definitely my other unpopular opinion, to go negative, is I am not a fan of Alfred Hitchcock. I definitely acknowledge Hitchcock's influence. He's one of the most important filmmakers of the 20th century in the history of film. Hitchcock is tremendously important and tremendously influential. And if you are a cinephile, a film fan, if you have any interest whatsoever in the art of filmmaking, the history of filmmaking, he's absolutely one you have to watch. You don't really have a choice. You have to see Hitchcock's movies to understand the history of cinema and the development of film language. But for me personally, he's never been one I've enjoyed. When I watch his movies, I can see certain things, you know, that I respect, certain techniques that are impressive, but ultimately the films are just emotionally, they're very cold to me. I never get invested in the characters. I never get involved in the stories. To me, they're just kind of like these sterile technical exercises, and they really don't stir me or excite me in any way. And definitely I seem to be in a minority in regards to that. I guess there are some detractors of Hitchcock, but for the most part, every time I bring this up and say I'm not really a fan of his work, there's a lot of disagreement and a lot of discussion that happens. But I guess as far as unpopular film opinions go, those are probably my two biggest ones. I'm a fan of Shyamalan, and I'm not a fan of Hitchcock, which is kind of funny because Shyamalan clearly takes so much influence from Hitchcock. But I get connected to his stories. I feel things. I have emotional reactions when I watch Shyamalan's movies. Not all of them. He's made some stinkers. The Happening was pretty terrible. But for the most part, I think Shyamalan makes really good movies. And Hitchcock, he made a lot of important movies. But ultimately, yeah, they just aren't movies that really that really make me feel things, that really get me invested. And that's ultimately kind of the deciding factor for me of whether or not I like a film or I like a director's work. It has to stir me in some way. It has to make me feel something. It has to make me laugh. It has to make me cry. It has to scare me, to shock me, to surprise me. It has to do something. It has to make me feel something. There has to be a frisson happening. And with Hitchcock, it really isn't there. The closest I've come, or the only time I've really had that, was with Psycho. Psycho is my favorite of Hitchcock's work. And it's the only one where I do I do get an investment building. I do actually have a reaction to that movie. And, the performances are so good in that one. Anthony Perkins and Janet Leigh are so terrific in that movie. The ending's kind of dumb, in my opinion. Feel free to disagree with me. But for the Hitchcock that I've seen, Psycho's been my favorite. Psycho, I think, has been his strongest work, or was his strongest work. But yeah, there you go. It's my most unpopular film opinions right there. Steve Buscemi. Hey, Henry, love your content. Thank you. Thank you very much. Keep up the great work. I'm excited to see how your channel will grow. Hey, you and me both. Let's hope. Have you ever seen the 2007 film from Sean Linden, Nobody? I've never seen anything like it. I don't believe I have. Nobody. Sean Linden. Gosh, I'll have to look that one up then. Nobody. I'll write down the director's name too, just in case. Sean Linden. L-I-N-D-E-N. Okay, Nobody. I'll look into it, but I don't believe I've seen it. But I will try to remedy that. Thank you for the recommendation. Corey Wilder. Henry, since you're in Oregon, did you get to see the total solar eclipse in August? I missed that. I missed that. I think it was early, wasn't it? And I tend to sleep in. Unfortunately, I missed that. Yeah, I wanted to see it. But yeah, I can't remember what I was doing that day, but I did miss it. Or maybe I was working? I cannot recall now. But I did miss that, unfortunately. As into science as I am, I listen to Star Talk, and yeah, I have books by Stephen Hawking on my shelf. Ugh. Can't get me outside to see a total solar eclipse, a once-in-a-lifetime event. I missed it. I'm kind of lame. I'm lame in a lot of ways. I'm sorry. I'm sorry you're all here. Johnny Ray Brawley, would you be cool with anyone in the chat who's made a short film plugging their work by posting a link to their stuff? No, I wouldn't have any objections to that. If you want to, you can send me the link on like Facebook or something. We can try and get you on the interview version of the show. I try to do interviews with filmmakers who send me work and send me short films and stuff. But yeah, if there's adult content or anything like that, I would appreciate a warning. But yeah, I guess if you want to post a link, that should be fine. I'm all for, yeah, supporting fellow filmmakers and yeah, trying to give everyone a platform for trying to reach more people. As small as my reach is, if I can give anyone any help, I'm more than happy to. But yeah, send me some of your stuff on Facebook or whatever social media platform you use, and yeah, maybe we can get you on and do an interview. It's been a couple of weeks since I've done one of those. I need to get back on that. I did have fun doing those. Oh, I've got a few other. That reminds me, I've got like a few messages on Facebook I need to respond to as well. People have been still sending me stuff, and I haven't been responding. I need to get on that. Schedule some more interviews. Zach Hayes. Oh, I don't think Call Me By Your Name has expanded yet because I'm waiting till it comes to Dallas because one of the theaters had it up. But I'll probably wait till after the holiday season. Again, that holiday traffic, the holiday Dallas traffic. Yeah, I don't want to be stuck in the nightmare of Dallas traffic. That's why I don't have a car. I just want to walk. Film Persona. Did you see the Carlos Regatas film, Silent Light? I really think it was interesting, although it reminds me of Carl Theodor Dreyer's masterpiece, Or Day. Or is it Ordette? I think it's Ordette. I have not seen Silent Light. I've only seen one Carlos Regadas film. I've seen Post Tenebris Lux, which I think still to this day is his last film. That was like 2011, 2012. I don't think he's made a new one since then. Hopefully he does, because Post Tenebris Lux is one of my favorite movies. I love that film. It is so bizarre and strange and original and like nothing else you'll ever see. So visionary and beautiful and poetic. I love that movie, but I have not seen any of Regadas's other films. So I need to see more of his stuff too. Silent Light, certainly. I remember, because my favorite film critic is Roger Ebert. He's really, if I could credit one like influential figure in my life that impacted, you know, why I really got into cinema in the first place and how I really, you know, defined my relationship with filmmaking and cinema, and who really, you know, kind of changed the way I saw movies, made me want to be a filmmaker. It's really Roger Ebert. He's had, you know, as big an impact on my life as anyone out there. I read his, you know, his criticisms, his essays, his writings obsessively. And I remember he put Silent Light on his list of the 10 best films of the decade, for the first decade of the 2000s, I believe it was. Silent Light was on that list. So it's been on my list for ages, but I still haven't gotten around to seeing it. But yeah, gets a recommendation from Roger Ebert and Film Persona. I definitely got to see it. Got filled another page. Next one. Got a lot of stuff to check out. Zach Hayes. Oh, Chronicle is pretty good. Definitely worth checking out. I've seen part of American Ultra. It was interesting, from what I've seen. Okay, that's good. Glad to hear that. Let's see. Whoops, jumped ahead again. Where are we? I'm not too far behind. That's good. Oh, Sagnik Duta. God, I'm so sorry. I know I'm saying your name wrong. I'm so sorry. To me, Synecdoche, New York is on the list of the scariest horror films. That's interesting. I've never seen it as a horror. I've always responded more to the comedic aspects of it, the very dark and nihilistic comedy that runs through the film. That's always kind of been the emotional strain running through it that I've always responded to the strongest. But there's also, you know, very, very strong elements of, you know, existential drama and, yeah, maybe a few horror elements as well, like surreal, almost kind of like dreamlike, nightmarish horror elements as well. That's interesting, though. It's been a long time since I've seen it. I do need to revisit it. But when I think back on the film, and I've seen it many times, I remember mostly the comedic aspects. I think that was what I responded to the strongest. And in general, I think that's what I respond to most of the time with Charlie Kaufman. Like Being John Malkovich, for instance, it's a very dark film in a lot of ways. But I think it's also a very funny film. And when I think back on it, I remember mostly the comedy, the comedic aspects. Same with Synecdoche, adaptation as well. Anomalisa, not so much. Anomalisa is definitely, of the work of his that I've seen, the darkest, the least funny. But there were some funny bits in there. Just not as much as in his other stuff. But that's interesting, though. I do want to go back to Synecdoche, New York. Need to do a recommends video on it. That definitely is a great movie, one I've long admired. Cinnamon Sand. Oh, I agree with you about Hitchcock. Hey, all right. Psycho is a masterpiece, but others I have seen don't do a lot to me. Yet I have to see Vertigo. Okay, that's that I think. What is it? The Sight and Sound poll. It's sort of like the most prestigious like film polling and like top greatest films ever made list out there. And for decades, Citizen Kane. Because the way they do it is they get like critics and filmmakers and they all vote on their favorite movies. They all submit like top 10 lists. And then Sight and Sound creates this like quote-unquote definitive top 10 list of the greatest movies ever made. And for decades, Citizen Kane has been at the top spot. And very recently, I think it was the last poll they did, Vertigo unseated Citizen Kane. So now Vertigo, I guess, is officially, again, quote-unquote, the greatest film of all time. But I have to say, I do not like that movie. I do not like Vertigo. I've never enjoyed it. I've always found it so dull and so boring. I've never gotten anything out of it. And I know a lot of people agree with me, especially my brother. He loves Vertigo, and he really loves Hitchcock, too. We always have arguments about this. But yeah, Vertigo is, of all the stuff from Hitchcock that I don't really care for, Vertigo is probably my least favorite of all the stuff I've seen. And the fact that it is, considered one of the greatest films of all time, perhaps the greatest film of all time, really bugs me and probably influences my opinion and skews it more negative than it otherwise would be. I try not to be influenced by stuff like that, but sometimes you can't help it. So yeah, I have so many problems with Vertigo. I can't stand that movie. But, it leads to some interesting discussions because my brother, he loves it. He loves it. And yeah, it's always interesting, getting another point of view, hearing him, talk about what he sees in the movie, what he gets out of the movie, which is so different from my experience watching it. It's interesting, though. It leads to some interesting discussions. So, Vertigo, regardless, it's still one to see. It's an important film in the history of cinema. It's definitely one to watch. Love it or hate it, it's definitely one to watch. It's one you need on your curriculum of film education, So please do see it at some point. And if you like it, hopefully you do like it, and you can come and tell me how dumb I am for hating it, But see it, have your own opinion on it. That's, I think, always the most important thing. Oh, Sasha! Sasha's here. Hello, better late than never. I won't stay long because I have a violent headache. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, but just wanted to say hi. Well, hello. I hope you haven't left already. I don't know how long ago you posted that, but glad to see you here. Glad you could make it regardless, Sasha. Hope you feel better. I'm sorry to hear that. At least you didn't have donuts for dinner last night, and now we're dealing with indigestion. That's at least one positive, right? Oh, Sagnick again. Again, sorry if I'm saying your name wrong, and I'm sure I am because I'm a moron. Thoughts on Orson Welles? Orson Welles is great. I'm a big fan of Orson Welles' work. He's had, he had a very turbulent and inconsistent career. And it's kind of sad, that he had such an early triumph with Citizen Kane, and subsequent to that, he just was never able to really capture that same magic. He made a lot of extraordinary films, and I think stylistically, his work was so far ahead of its time. He was such an innovator. He was such a visionary. I think it's a shame, that he wasn't allowed more control over his work, that, studios and producers just didn't understand what it was he was trying to do. His vision, it was constantly compromised by all this interference, and tampering. It's really tragic, and very sad, that he wasn't allowed more experiences like Kane, where he was given total creative control to just do whatever he wanted and create a film, that was decades ahead of its time. But even, with all those compromises, his subsequent work, still was decades ahead of its time. Touch of Evil, God, talk about one of the best directed movies ever. I think it has, that film has some weaknesses in terms of, story and script. And still, that we were never able to really find the original director's cut, Welles's original director's cut, because it was so heavily, re-edited and redone by studio tampering. But Walter Murch tried to restore the original version as close an approximation as we can now do. And it's a great film. It really is an amazing film. Just every shot in it, from a 5-minute opening tracking shot to, Wells's, Baroque sensibilities, the way he uses deep focus and staging in such an extraordinary way, the way he contrasts, these visual extremes. He'll have an extremely high angle shot, and then he'll cut to an extremely low angle shot. You'll be looking down on somebody and there'll just be a tiny figure, and then suddenly next cut we're down here and they're towering over the frame. Just the visual impact he was able to give, his imagery and his shots and just everything. He was such a visionary. He was such an innovator. Nobody at that time, I think, was really doing the stuff that he was doing. And I'm not as familiar with his European work, which he did do quite a few movies in Europe, like Mr. Arkadin, I think. He did something like that. I don't know too much about that one. Gosh, what's the documentary or mockumentary he made? F is Fake, or F for Fake? F for Fake? I think that's what it's called. Damn. Something like that. And yeah, he did adaptations of Othello and I think a couple of other Shakespeare movies, which I haven't seen. What was it? Confidential Report, I think it was called, or something like that. A few others. I believe the only European film of his that I've seen is The Trial, which is also very extraordinary in a lot of ways. Again, it has some story weaknesses, some script weaknesses, but visually, I mean, just my God, every scene, every shot has something amazing going on in it. And I love Anthony Perkins. He's always, to me, really interesting to watch on screen. So having him as a central presence there, to me, does not hurt the movie at all. Really helps it. And then, yeah, just Wells just kind of gets the opportunity to just experiment and try different visual things, show what extraordinary cinematic imagination he had. What a natural filmmaker he was, visual storyteller. So yeah, I'm a big fan of Orson Welles for all the, the ups and downs that his career had and everything, all the difficulties he dealt with, all the bullshit and yeah, clashes, and just how much he had to struggle to get movies made. I think throughout all of that, he really he created work that was very consistently extraordinary and groundbreaking and influential. I think of his era, the 40s and the 50s, that 60s even, that whole era, I think he was one of the best filmmakers, one of the all-time greatest filmmakers, and one of my personal favorites. Yeah, I'm a big fan of Orson Welles. If anyone watching this, if you haven't seen an Orson Welles movie, you really got to get on that. They haven't really aged as much as other films from the era. I think it's going to happen no matter what you do. So, Citizen Kane, it has aged in a lot of ways, but it's still so extraordinary. It's still such an amazing movie in so many ways. So, I mean, you got to get on that. Got to see Kane, got to see Touch of Evil, got to see The Trial. They're all great, amazing. Highly, highly recommend those. I still need to see Lady from Shanghai as well. That was one he made when he was still in Hollywood. Haven't seen that one. Gosh, and what was the one with Edward G. Robinson? Was that Lady from Shanghai? No, that was something else. I cannot remember the name of that one. Or was it Lady from Shanghai? Now I'm confused. But yeah, I need to see a lot more Welles, because even just the three I have seen, just, wow, they blew me away. So yeah, I'm a big fan of Orson Welles. Let's see. Oh, wow. Sasha, tonight a friend told me that he goes to college with the daughter of Michael Dudok DeWitt, the director of The Red Turtle, an animated masterpiece. That's very cool. You'll have to talk to the friend, see if you can meet DeWitt. Or would that be in poor taste? That probably would be in poor taste. But that'd be so cool, to get a connection to him. Get him to sign your Blu-ray or something. That'd be awesome. Whoops. Oh, here we go. Zach Hayes. I agree about Synecdoche, New York. That's what Kaufman wanted. Oh, like about mixing the tones, I'm assuming. The Lobster got to me more, but that's a close second. Just didn't grab me as much. Fair enough. Yeah, those are both great movies. And yeah, definitely ones that balance multiple tones simultaneously. You know, there's horror, there's drama, and there's comedy all kind of happening simultaneously throughout those movies. And yeah, they both represent such unique sensibilities and fertile imaginations. They're great. They're both great films. I don't know if I could pick a favorite of the two, but they are both great. And it's an interesting comparison. I never thought about The Lobster, you know, related to Synecdoche, New York before, but that's interesting. Oh, Johnny Ray, sweet. I'll send you a direct message, link to my film on Facebook. Hey, great. I think I just saw it pop up too. So yeah, I'll have to make sure I check that out. Maybe we can get you on the show. Should be able to, right? We can get you on the show. Let's see what else we got here. Ooh, film persona. What do you think of the first photo from Von Trier's new film, The House That Jack Built? It's my most anticipated film of 2018. Lars said it's going to be in intensive post-production for a year. Okay, that makes sense though. He tends to really do complicated, you know, technological things to every movie. Every single film he does, it seems, it goes through a really intense post-production process where they manipulate the imagery in different ways. Like Dogville and Manderley were that way. You know, they had to erase stuff out of the backgrounds and do different things. And yeah, Antichrist, you know, there's a lot of special effects in that movie. They're all invisible. You can't really tell. But yeah, there's a lot of like computer-generated imagery kind of adding stuff in just about every shot. Melancholia, obviously, you know, creating like the planets in the sky and everything, and the opening sequence, of course. Yeah, it's kind of funny. Von Trier's kind of like an art house director, kind of like this little director, like when you compare it to like, say, Marvel stuff or Star Wars. You don't really think of movies like that being so technologically innovative or yeah, so special effects intensive. But Von Trier is really like, he's really like the Cecil B. DeMille of what he does. Of like dark art house movies, Von Trier is like the Cecil B. DeMille. Every single one is yeah, pretty innovative and pretty complicated and complex. It's really interesting. That's what I love about his work. But yeah, I'm very excited for House That Jack Built. What do I think of the first photo? There's not much to go on there. It's if I remember correctly, it's just a photo of Matt Dillon, right? And he's kind of like behind this screen, and you get kind of an impression that it's like some kind of morgue or something like that. Not a lot to go on. I mean, looks good. It's cool to see the first image, but for me, it's still too early to tell. I mean, it means he's working on it, he's shooting it, and yeah, it's gonna come out. So that gets me excited. But yeah, just one photo. I don't know. Not really a lot of places I could develop my thoughts just on that. But I'm very excited for it, and yeah, I'm greatly looking forward to that next year, hopefully, if it comes out. You never can tell. But yeah, I am very excited for that one. And they also released the image of Von Trier, which Dreyer came up earlier in this stream. They released kind of like a promotional photo that was done in homage to Dreyer's Vampire. And from what Von Trier has been saying, like the movie is going to be kind of like paying homage to a lot of silent horror films, and especially Dreyer and Vampire, I think. Which is very cool. I haven't really seen too many movies do that lately. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. Don't know what to expect. Is it going to be Hannibal crossed with silent, you know, Dreyer? What is it going to be? I can't tell. We'll just have to wait and find out. But I am greatly looking forward to it. Sasha, for what it's worth, my sister saw some of your stream from last week and thinks you are very attractive in both looks and personality. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it. That makes me very embarrassed and self-conscious, but I appreciate the compliment. Thank you so much. Tell your sister thank you. I appreciate that. Zach Hayes. I have a short film from when I was in college on my channel. It's not the best. It's from 7 years ago, and I haven't really done much since. Of course, I would love to do more, but no connections really. You should send me the short, Zach. I'll watch it. We can get you on the show. I can do an interview with you. Even if we don't talk about the short or filmmaking very much, we could just talk about, movies we've watched recently, just shoot the shit. Why not? It'd be fun. So yeah, send me your short. We'll get you on the show. We'll have a good time with it. What else? What else we got here? Oh, Gregor Barclay, Magnificent Ambersons. That's right. That was kind of like, that was the first major disaster in Wells's career. Yeah, because he did Kane, and then he did Ambersons. I still haven't seen Magnificent Ambersons. That's another one I still have yet to see. But yeah, he did Magnificent Ambersons, and yeah, it was this huge production, went way over budget, over schedule, and then yeah, the final film I think was like 3 hours long, something insane. And then the studio, yeah, that was the first time the studio like really cracked down on Wells and tried to rein him in, and yeah, took the film out of his hands and recut it. They cut it from like 3 hours down to 90 minutes. It was just butchering, an absolute butchering, and then released it. And it was kind of like after Kane, the critical reception was like, well, this is such a disappointment. Wells has failed to live up to his potential. And then just from there, it was such a rocky road for him. But yeah, Magnificent Ambersons, that was like following the huge success of Kane and the huge innovation of Kane, even though it was kind of, it was not really seen for the innovative masterpiece it was, back in the early 40s. It was still, Wells was like this boy wonder. He'd done stuff in the theater, he'd done stuff in radio. Now he was moving into filmmaking. So it was like everything he did, everyone was kind of like, wow, is there anything this guy can't do? He's got such a vision, he's got such talent and creativity. It seems everything he goes into, he just does amazing things with it. So yeah, even though there was kind of like, I guess you describe it as like a muted reaction to Kane. People didn't really get it at the time so much. It was so different, the way it kind of approached narrative in a non-linear way, and had so many flashbacks and kind of has this jumbled storyline that goes all over the place. It confused a lot of people at the time, but there were definitely people that saw it was something different, that it was representative of a very original vision. And definitely, yeah, when Wells went into Magnificent Ambersons, there were people very much looking forward, yeah, to seeing where he went with his film career. And then Ambersons, yeah, just kind of pulled the rug out from under it, and from there he was never able to quite recover. It's like Todd Browning, actually. I just, for the first time, was it yesterday? I think it was yesterday. I watched Freaks for the very first time in my life. And it was an interesting experience. Definitely that movie has a very strong cult following. It's very important in a lot of ways. My initial viewing was not, the most positive. I didn't care for it so much. But there were definitely things in it that really struck me as being so different and innovative. And that was another one, yeah, that had this really turbulent history. And that kind of was the film that ended Todd Browning's career. Like, he'd just done Dracula, which was such a huge hit for Universal. It really like launched the first wave of like Universal monster films, because following in the wake of Dracula, there was Frankenstein and Bride of Frankenstein and The Wolfman and Creature from the Black Lagoon and so many others. Dracula was really the film that started that, and it was such a success. And Todd Browning was in a position where he could do basically anything he wanted, and he did Freaks, and it was so misunderstood and so reviled. Is that the right word? Reviled? It was so hated on its initial release that it basically killed his career. I think he did a few more movies after that, but he was basically, put in a position where he'd become a pariah overnight. He'd gone from one of the biggest directors in Hollywood in the early 30s with Dracula to suddenly being just this outcast that nobody wanted anything to do with. No, that's the guy that made Freaks. Get him out of here. And just overnight, it's so wild to me that just like a switch, just this dramatic flip-flop to go, well, Dracula, he's on top, and then very next film, Freaks, complete opposite. It's amazing to me and really fascinating. And Todd Browning's another one. I need to see more of his work as well. But yeah, Freaks is definitely interesting. There's really, from that era, the early 30s, there's really nothing else like it. Even today, there's not really much else like it. Maybe that Alex Winter film, Freaked, and maybe a few others. But man, for the early 30s, pre-code, pre-censorship, pre-Hollywood censorship, it's pretty amazing. It's so sad that the original version no longer exists as well. We only have a 62-minute version. The original version was 90 minutes, and yeah, apparently has some really messed up stuff in it, like a castration and mutilations. That was all cut. And yeah, the movie as it exists now is only about 62 minutes. So yeah, that's another one, heavily compromised, and the original version is considered lost, unfortunately. You know, at least with Touch of Evil, we have an approximation of what Wells's original vision was. Freaks, it's not the same situation, unfortunately. It's fascinating, though, to read about those trajectories, that people's careers take, and just imagining, what might have been. What if Wells had been allowed to release Magnificent Ambersons in his original version? What if his rocket ride, to the top of Hollywood, what if that had continued unabated? Like, what would he have done in that situation? What kind of films might he have made, if certain elements or figures, hadn't, gotten in his way? Or, is adversity part of creativity? Is that an essential component? Do artists need obstacles to overcome in order to create and do their best work? It's interesting for, to think about that. Would it be an ideal situation if you just took a great filmmaker and you just gave them total freedom, said you can do whatever you want, unlimited funds, unlimited resources? Would that be conductive to creativity and imagination, or would that be just, something completely stifling? I think in a certain way you do need limitations, and you do need adversity. You do need obstacles. You do need things that are gonna get in your way and are gonna force you to think creatively. I do think that is an essential component, to the artistic process. But unfortunately, sometimes the adversity can get so heavy that it kind of shatters the creation, unfortunately. So I don't know. Maybe Wells, didn't need to be on top. Maybe he could still had people, kind of presenting him with obstacles and challenges. Gosh, I don't know. Maybe it couldn't have happened any other way. I'm not sure. Certainly with somebody like Todd Browning, though, it's sad that he never really got to make any other movies. I would have preferred at least, that Todd Browning got to keep directing, because he wasn't that old when he made Freaks. He still could have had, a couple more decades in him, but we'll never know, what he might have done. And with Wells, I don't know, maybe it made him more creative. Maybe it gave him more freedom to do something like The Trial, which is very much like an avant-garde piece. It's really interesting. So I don't know, but it's interesting to think about. It's interesting to think about that. But anyways, to summarize, I should see The Magnificent Ambersons because I haven't seen it yet. Sasha, I wonder, what are your thoughts on French Connection? It's been a while since I've seen that one. I think William Friedkin is definitely an extraordinary filmmaker in a lot of ways, and French Connection was really a stylistic breakthrough, for, what was it, 1971 that came out? The grittiness, the realism, the immediacy that he captured in that film is really extraordinary. Even seeing it today, it really vibrates with a lot of immediacy. It's never been one that I've like completely embraced, not like The Exorcist, which I think is a really great movie. French Connection is kind of like, there's elements to it that I think are great, and then there's other elements to it where, I don't know, I'm just not as engaged with it as I am in other parts of the film. I don't know, maybe if it had a stronger story, there are just certain moments where I get kind of lost. I guess I react this way to most like kind of police procedural films. French Connection is definitely a cut above the rest in a lot of ways, just in the way it's made. Gene Hackman's performance, and yeah, the centerpiece, the car chase in that movie is still electrifying even to this day. And other bits, the use of the handheld cameras and just the grain and the grittiness and the textures of the locations and everything. There's a lot about that movie that is pretty amazing. But I don't know, just as far as the story goes, it's one I have trouble following. It's one where there are certain like chunks of the movie where I kind of lose track of everything that's happening, and I'm just kind of like disengaged from it. But then another set piece will come in, another like great scene will come in that'll pull me back in, that'll re-engage me with it. So I don't know, it's one I kind of go back and forth on, but it's definitely an important movie. And even if it's not one that like I'm not able to fully embrace everything about it, and it's not really I guess a genre or a subgenre that I'm particularly engaged with, it's an extraordinary film in a lot of ways, and it's really a spectacularly well-made film as well. Just everything that Friedkin did. There's so many amazing stories behind the making of that movie, just how it's this big Hollywood movie, and he was like, I don't want anything Hollywood here. I don't want cranes. I don't want dolly track. We're going to build everything by hand. We're just going to fly by the seat of our pants on this thing. And we're going to try and make it as un-Hollywood as we possibly can. That is like, I wish more filmmakers, today would adopt that attitude. Could you imagine that if somebody were to do something like that today? A big director, a major director making a big film, with major actors, like at the time, Gene Hackman and Roy Scheider doing something really big like that and just saying like, we're going to throw all the rules, all the tools, everything you expect from a movie like this, we're going to toss it out the window and we're going to build from scratch. We're going to do something different. That would be so amazing to see. But unfortunately, in today's Hollywood, I don't think that would ever happen again. It'd be great to see, though. It'd be great to see. But you never know. Let's see what else we got. I need to rewatch French Connection, too. I have one of the Blu-rays, and there are a couple of Blu-ray releases, and they do different things to the transfer, which is kind of confusing. But I think I have the first Blu-ray release somewhere back here. But I'll have to rewatch it. It's been a few years since I've seen it. I might need to watch it again. Because, I mean, people change, we change as viewers, and our experiences with movies change along with us. So you never know what you're in for when you revisit a film after a few years. Oh, Sagnik Duta. Damn it, I hate that I'm saying your name wrong, but I apologize for that, but I'm doing my best. I feel that in spite of all the problems he had in Hollywood, almost everything Welles did manage to make was pretty amazing. The opening scene of the trial is so well directed. Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree with you. Despite all that trouble, yeah, he did create a pretty amazing body of work, which I need to continue exploring. But yeah, definitely. He was such a visionary. Yeah, you couldn't really repress his innovations, his creativity. He still managed to, yeah, do some amazing stuff in spite of everything. And again, yeah, talking about the artist's relationship with adversity, I wonder if, yes, the problems he encountered, if it contributed, to how innovative his work was. I wonder if, having people say to him constantly, like, this is not how you make a movie. You can't do it like this. You can't do that. You can't do this. I wonder if that pushed him even more, to be even more bold with the stuff that he did and to push, these ideas even further. Who knows? Possibly, possibly not. But I think it could very well have contributed to that. So, yeah, who knows? As sad as it is, yeah, to see like the trajectory that someone like Welles, that his career took, maybe it did also have some positives. Maybe it did ultimately make for a stronger body of work. Might have to, I don't know, I'd have to look into it. I'd have to become a scholar and really study it to really formulate a stronger opinion. But it's an interesting thing to think about, nonetheless. Cinnamon San. I am very interested in the Road trilogy by Wim Wenders. Have you seen those? And if so, what's your opinion? I have not yet seen those movies. I'm a fan of Wim Wenders. I want to see more of his movies. Paris, Texas has long been one of my all-time favorite movies. I love that film. But yeah, I have yet to see the Road trilogy, which is, what is that? It's Alice in the Cities, right? And Kings of the Road. And what was the last one? I can't remember the last one. And I still need to see the Patricia Highsmith adaptation he did, The American Friend, with Dennis Hopper and Bruno Ganz. I have that Blu-ray down here, and I have yet to watch it, so I need to get on that too. But yeah, I need to check out the Road trilogy as well. Sorry, I have not yet seen them. Cannot offer an opinion, unfortunately. Jack, yo, welcome. Glad to see you, Jack. Oh, Sasha. Sasha can help us, though. Cinnamon San, I have that trilogy, the Road trilogy, on Criterion Collection Blu-ray. Those are beautiful and personal films. So there we go. We get at least somebody's opinion on the Road trilogy. Thank you, Sasha. Oh, Zach Hayes. Vertigo was the first film I've seen by Hitchcock. I got a chance to see it in the theater when they remastered it. I was like 7 or 10. It's one of the films that opened my eyes to the world of cinema. Well, there you go. That's the other side of the coin. I definitely did not have that experience with Vertigo, but Zach did. And yeah, that's definitely the impact that that film can have on certain viewers. Unfortunately, I wasn't one of those viewers, but yeah, definitely I don't want to belittle that personal reaction you did have to it. To me, yeah, that's just as relevant an opinion as mine is. I didn't have that experience, but Zach did, other people did, and yeah, that's why Vertigo is an important movie, regardless of what I think. And it's one to see, because who knows, you might have that reaction. But very cool, though, Zach. See it at 7 or 10, yeah, and have that reaction, that's very cool. Wish I could have had it. Sorry I didn't, but there you go. That's the way it is. Sagnik. I cringe every time I say your name. I'm so sorry. I saw The Lost City of Z recently and didn't really like it much. It felt like a watered-down version of Embrace of the Serpent, which was rather amazing. I agree with you there. Embrace of the Serpent was great. Really incredible film. I could see where you're coming from on Lost City of Z. I wasn't as engaged with that one as I was with Embrace of the Serpent. But I still felt like Lost City of Z did have its strengths. You know, it had beautiful cinematography. The location work and the direction I thought was very well done. The acting was very good. Charlie Hunnam I thought was pretty solid in the lead, but I was very impressed by Robert Pattinson in the supporting role that he had in that movie. You don't really recognize him. He's got this beard, you know, and this costume. Doesn't really seem like Robert Pattinson, and it's one of, I think, the strongest performances of his that I've yet seen. He really vanishes into that role. I was very impressed by it. So, you know, I kind of agree with you, you know, that it's not a bad movie, Lost City of Z. There were things about it that I liked and admired and enjoyed, but yeah, if you're looking for that kind of like getting lost in, you know, the jungles and that kind of journey, that kind of experience, I do think Embrace of the Serpent is, yeah, by far the stronger movie. I would say, yeah, see Embrace of the Serpent first, and if you really dig that kind of film, then see Lost City of Z, which also has some strong elements, I think. And then, you know, of course, Apocalypse Now, Algeria, The Wrath of God, that kind of stuff too, if you haven't already seen them. But, you know, yeah, I did think Lost City of Z had some strengths. But, you know, got to give the edge to Embrace of the Serpent. That was a masterpiece. Hard to beat that one. Whoops. Oh, I'm falling way behind now. Sorry about that. Oh, Zach Hayes. So, Vertigo has a close spoon. My heart. I'm assuming that's autocorrect messing that up. I'm sorry if I don't understand that. Vertigo has a close spot to my heart. I'm gonna go with that. But I understand if you don't feel the same. It's been years since I've seen it, so I might feel different about it myself. Well, hey, don't lose your love for certain movies. You know, screw what I say. If it means something to you, hold on to that. You know, never lose those. Movies that mean something to you, that are special to you, that are close to you, don't let anybody mess that up. Don't let anybody poison that or corrupt that. Hold on to that. Hold on to that as much as you can. The things you love are very important. So forget what anyone else says. If you had that, hold on to it. Cherish that. It's something that has meaning and significance for you, and that's what defines cinema for each of us as individuals. You know, the unique experiences we have with films and with art, what they mean to us. Don't let anyone take that away from you. That defines your relationship with art and cinema. So you need to hold on to that. Please do hold on to that. Don't listen to anything I say about Vertigo. Hold on to that. Oh, Sasha, have you seen True Detective Season 1 yet? Not yet. Damn it. Not yet. But I do need to get on that, and I need to get on to Season 2 of Fargo eventually. Still haven't seen that stuff. It's on the list, though. I know those are both on the list. I know Fargo's still on here because there's 3 seasons, right? So, yeah, I got more of that. And I know True Detective is on here. I know it is. So I got to get around to that as well. Damn it. And I got stuff in theaters to see, too. Gosh, where do you find the time? I'll try my best, though. Cinnamon San. Oh, God. Unfortunately, Amazon UK doesn't ship the Criterion box to my country. Otherwise, I would order it. Bastards. Dirty bastards. How dare they? I feel sorry for you, man. I on behalf of Criterion, I apologize. That sucks. Oh, Cinnamon San again. I hope to find a seller one day who sells it for a nice price and wants to ship to the Netherlands. Yeah, I'll keep my fingers crossed for you. Hopefully you do find that. That sucks. Yeah, hopefully you do manage to find a way to get a hold of the Criterion soon. Sasha. Oh, in reference to True Detective Season 1. It's a flat-out masterpiece. That's what I've heard. Yeah, I've heard mixed things about Season 2, but yeah, definitely Season 1 is pretty universally positive. So I definitely have to get around to that at some point. Film Persona. Oh my God. Yeah, that's right. Thoughts on Tarantino pitching an R-rated Star Trek film to J.J. Abrams? That kind of threw me for a loop. I didn't know what to think about that. I thought it was a joke or a hoax or something for the longest time, but I keep seeing more and more stuff on it, so I'm guessing it must be real. I do not know what to think about that, though. That is so strange to me because Tarantino, from what I remember, he said he's gonna do 10 films and then he's done. That's it. After film number 10, he's retired. That's it. And the new one, the Manson film, is going to be film 9, if I'm remembering correctly. I think, yeah, the new one, the Manson one, is going to be number 9. And if he does Star Trek after that, that's going to be 10. Is Star Trek going to be what he goes out on? That is so strange to me. Or maybe it's a bonus one. I don't know. I cannot figure this out. I cannot for the life of me figure this out. It is so bizarre to me. I don't know what to think about this. I mean, I guess first off, I hope it's good. I mean, I don't know what a Quentin Tarantino Star Trek film is going to be like, but hopefully it's something good. But, God, that is so strange to me. Honestly, my honest feeling on it is I can't imagine it actually happening. You would have to finish the movie, and I would have to be sitting there watching it. Maybe even if I'm sitting there watching it, I still wouldn't believe that it's a real thing. But this is just something I'm assuming at some point that it's going to get canceled, that it's going to maybe go along for a little while, and Tarantino will lose interest, or his vision for it will be too radical, or somebody's going to pull the plug or something. I'm imagining something is going to go wrong and that this thing will not end up happening. That's the only direction I can see it going. But if it does end up happening, all I can say is, yeah, hopefully it turns out well. Hopefully we end up with a good movie at the end of this. Whatever it is, Tarantino and Star Trek. I don't think he's done sci-fi yet, has he? Maybe he just wants to break out, try something really different, you know, kind of sample every genre before he retires. I don't know. It took me by surprise. I'm still not quite sure what I think of it, but I guess I want to remain hopeful. Yeah. Hopefully it's good. Hopefully we end up with something with something memorable. I think certainly no matter what it is, it will be memorable. But we'll see. We'll just have to wait and see. I honestly can't see it actually going through. I think something's going to happen to throw it off. But you know, I wish him the best, and I wish the film the best. Hopefully, yeah, hopefully it turns out good. We won't know until we see it, if we see it. But yeah, I'm still trying to process all that. Still trying to figure out exactly how I feel about all that. Because I definitely have not really been a fan of Abrams's Star Trek interpretations. Although, to be fair, I haven't seen the new one, Star Trek Beyond. I've heard that one's better. I've heard it's, you know, more. It's closer to the spirit of the original Star Trek series, and, you know, classic Trek stuff. So I don't know. I should be willing to give it a fair shake, but, you know, I kind of wrote off the Abrams Star Trek stuff a long time ago, which I try to avoid doing. But, you know, I'm only human. I can be a cynical bastard sometimes. Sadly, I try not to be, but sometimes I can be. But I don't know. Tarantino's Star Trek will definitely be different. It will definitely be different. Just gotta wait and see. I don't know what else to say. We'll just have to wait and see what turns out of that. But it's very surprising. Very surprising. I was surprised, you know, when Tarantino said he was going to tackle the Manson family. It's like, really? That took me by surprise. And now Star Trek. Manson's nothing compared to Star Trek. It's like, that makes much more sense than Tarantino doing Star Trek. But, you know, oh well, he wants to break out of his box. Good for him. Try something different. I wish him luck. What else we got here? Zach Hayes. I finally got around to watching Knight of Cups and Song to Song. I really enjoyed Song to Song a lot more, which I have yet to see. I have not yet seen Song to Song. Mainly because it shows the city side of Texas and doesn't make us all look super country. Well, that's good. Natalie Portman didn't have the best Southern accent in Song to Song, but I've been to that festival that they show, and was going to go again that year he filmed, so we might have crossed paths. Ugh, so close. That would have been cool. You might have turned up in the background or something. That would have been awesome. Oh, this is something else. Okay. But okay, yeah, so this isn't related to Song. Sorry, I was confused there for a second. Would love to come on the show. Okay, I have another skate video that has a couple of skits as well with some friends. If I find the DVD, I'll send it or something if it's not lost forever. Cool. Awesome. Glad to hear it. But yeah, I still need to check out Song to Song. Not sure what I'll think about that one, because yeah, I'm starting to cover Malik on the Recommends show. And yeah, I want to do Days of Heaven next. Definitely going to do, you know, Thin Red Line, Tree of Life, The New World. Want to cover all those. But yeah, the last one I wasn't too big on. Knight of Cups. Wasn't a big fan of that one. Might revisit it. Who knows? I might like it more. Giving it a second view. So I don't know. But yeah, I still need to see Song to Song. Can't really say anything about that one, you know, because I haven't seen it yet. I don't want to, you know, have go on preconceived notions, you know, or assumptions. That's not criticism. But I do want to see it, and hopefully I do fairly soon. Oh, Chaz's Dungeon, welcome. I'm uncertain on what film I should watch first. Here are my choices: Uncle Boon Me, who can recall his past lives, whole title there. Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, Angela, or The Confessions of a Dangerous Mind. That's an interesting list. Uncle Boon Me is great. Very, I guess, narratively relaxed, requires some patience, but it is a very great film. Eternal Sunshine, as I said, I haven't seen in a very long time. I'd need to watch it, with a fresh perspective, to really talk about that one confidently. Angela, the Luc Besson movie, I actually really liked. I thought that was one of Besson's most interesting movies. I guess the reaction to it wasn't so positive. It was pretty negative from what I saw. But I really dug it. I thought it was very cool. Very beautifully shot. Very strange, different kind of concept. The two actors, I cannot remember the name of the comedian that plays the lead role. I thought he was excellent, though. And the model, I think she's a Dutch model, Rai Rasmussen, something like that. It's a close approximation of her name. But I thought she was really good. She was also in Brian De Palma's Femme Fatale in a very, a very sexy scene. But yeah, I thought she was great in Angela. I think that's an underrated one. Yeah, I enjoyed Angela quite a bit. But Confessions of a Dangerous Mind, I'm a big fan of. I think Confessions of a Dangerous Mind is a tremendously underrated movie. And yeah, it was scripted by Charlie Kaufman. So it has some really unusual choices in terms of storytelling and in terms of character. I love the way it plays with fiction and reality, and the way it tries to render reality in as unreal a way as possible, and even the way it portrays reality as being or unreality, fantasy as being more real. It still kind of plays with artificiality in a lot of ways of having in-camera transitions and sets that open up and reveal and reveal other settings. Stylistically, it's such an interesting, innovative movie. I love Confessions of a Dangerous Mind. That was George Clooney's first film as a director, if I'm not mistaken. And he's done some solid movies since then. He's been kind of inconsistent, unfortunately. He's done some stuff I wasn't too keen on. But like Good Night and Good Luck was really good, for instance. Monuments Men, not so good. But Confessions of a Dangerous Mind, I think, remains his strongest work as a director. I love that movie. There are so many cool shots and transitions and conceptual ideas behind it. Sam Rockwell is great in the lead role. It's really good. I really think Confessions is such an underrated, underseen film. I would highly recommend that one. But you got a pretty damn good list there. It'd be hard for me to say exactly where to start. Maybe since Confessions is early Kaufman, maybe start with that one and then go to Eternal Sunshine. And yeah, Boon Me, if you're in the mood for kind of a slower, more atmospheric kind of experience, then if you're in that mood, then you go for Uncle Boon Me. And then, yeah, if you just want some strange, comic book kind of Luc Besson material, go with Angela. But yeah, I think they're all pretty extraordinary films in different ways. That's a tough choice. Oh, but Zach Hayes, I've only seen Eternal Sunshine, but it's one of my favorites of all time. So I would definitely recommend that, Chaz. But I don't have an opinion on the rest. So that kind of adds to your dilemma, Chaz. I'm sorry. Cool Dude Creative, welcome. I don't know if I've ever seen you here before. I'm probably going to be watching Breathless tonight. Haven't seen any French New Wave films yet. Well, that's a great place to start. Breathless is the perfect place to start. Not sure what to expect, but the girl in the poster's pretty, and I'm a simple soul. Yes, Jean Seberg is her name, the actress. She's, become a fashion icon just because of that one movie. And yeah, she's great in the film. I'm actually listening. There's a podcast I listen to called You Must Remember This. And one of the latest seasons of that podcast, it covers Jean Seberg, like her life and career. So much I did not know about her. She had a very tragic life. It's difficult to listen to. It also covers Jane Fonda as well, who their lives and careers really paralleled each other in interesting ways. It's a great podcast. I highly recommend it to anyone that wants to learn more about classic Hollywood and a lot of the stuff that typically doesn't get talked about or mentioned. It's a really interesting look at classic films and the development of Hollywood and kind of all these undercurrents, this whole underbelly of stuff that was going on behind the scenes. Gives you a different kind of perspective on it. But yeah, the whole season covering Gene Seberg and Jane Fonda is really, really good, really interesting, tough to listen to, because yeah, they dealt with so much horrible shit in their lives. And Seberg especially, she suffered from depression. I think she ended, I haven't finished the season yet, but she ended up committing suicide. Very tragic life. Very, very sad. But yeah, remains so iconic just from that one role in Breathless. And I don't think I've seen any of her other movies. She was in like a Joan of Arc film, I think, for Otto Preminger. She was in Paint Your Wagon, a few other movies. But yeah, I've only ever seen Breathless. But yeah, she's so great in that movie. Still so modern. That's such a modern movie in so many ways. And yeah, it's still great. I still think Breathless is a great film. And yeah, as for French New Wave, definitely Breathless. And immediately after that, you got to do Truffaut's 400 Blows. Those two, that's the introduction to the French New Wave right there. Breathless, 400 Blows. Then you got to go into Vivre sa vie. You got to go into Jules and Jim. You got to do Weekend at some point. And you definitely got to get a few other directors in there. It's not just Truffaut and Godard. You got to throw some variety in there. So you got to get some Jean-Pierre Melville. Got to watch Bob the Gambler, maybe. Or Les Samurai is a good one. I don't know why I say that, because I actually haven't seen Les Samurai as of yet. I just know of its reputation. So I shouldn't be saying that. I've heard Les Samurai is a good one, but I still need to catch up on that one. Hypocrite. What am I talking about? I'm so fake. I'm such a fake, a phony. It's revealed finally. But yeah, check out some Melville, and definitely check out some Agnes Varda. She's excellent. Cleo from 5 to 7, Vagabond, and yeah, she's done. Gosh, I'm not as familiar with her work either as I should be, but yeah, definitely Cleo from 5 to 7 and Vagabond. Definitely give those a watch as well. A lot of great stuff in the French New Wave, and more directors. I mean, even beyond that are so good. Claude Chabrol, Jacques Rivette, Eric Romer. A lot of stuff to dig into in the French New Wave. But Breathless, excellent introduction. Very good place to start. Jack, I've been meaning to watch Uncle Boon Me too. Well, you should, because it's damn good. They're really strange and unique. I want to see more of that director's films. He's a Thai filmmaker, if I'm remembering correctly, and I could not even begin to pronounce his name. What? Oh, I don't even want to make the attempt. Even if I had his name in front of me, I still probably wouldn't be able to say it. But I want to see more of his films. I think I've only seen Uncle Boon Me. Oh, I also saw Cemetery of Splendor, which I didn't like as much, but it still had some very interesting stuff in it. But yeah, I definitely liked Boon Me and the way he incorporates mythology and these more kind of like fantasy elements with this very like realistic, story of just Thai people and living life, kind of in the elements like that, the way it balances realism with fantasy and dream. It's really good, really, really good. Again, demands patience, but I think it's a rewarding experience. So yeah, check it out, Jack. I think you'll probably like it. Chaz's Dungeon. Oh, I'm sort of thinking of watching The Holy Mountain before Martyrs or any extreme film that I have, as I fear that I'll be desensitized. Well, I guess, is Holy Mountain extreme? I guess it is. There is some pretty shocking imagery in it, but it's definitely not like Martyrs. It's definitely it's not really a gore film or like something like that that really tries to assault you. Holy Mountain is more spiritual. It's more of a psychedelic kind of thing. I think with Jodorowsky, his intent is always to do much more than just shock. You know, I think he's trying to affect his audience in many deeper ways. I think shocking and provoking is part of it, but it's a relatively minor component to what Jodorowsky does. I think mostly he seeks to enlighten, you know, to make you think in a different way, to make you perceive in a different way, to affect you. When he made The Holy Mountain, he stated his intent, much as he did with his unmade Dune, as making a film that did for people's minds and perceptions the same thing that LSD does. And also to create a film that functioned as a holy text. I remember in his audio commentary, he said he thought about how there's the Bible, there's the Quran, works of text, literature, written language that are revered as holy scripture, as, you know, being something sacred. And he thought, why can't a film serve the same function? Why can't a film exist, you know, that is the same thing, that is sacred, that is viewed as a holy text? And that's very much what he set out to do with The Holy Mountain. So you kind of have to approach it from that more theological perspective. It's a movie that was intended to be like a cinematic Bible that would be worshipped and considered sacred. So the very definition of ambitious, but I think it's a great movie. I love The Holy Mountain. Very much of its time, as El Topo was, very much grounded in the counterculture and psychedelic sensibility, but still they reflect such a unique and incredible imagination and sensibility that they're still, I think, great movies to watch and experience because there's nothing else like them. Jodorowsky, I think, really found a way to transcend all of the elements of that era and just kind of run it through the filter of his own mind and his own imagination and create something totally unique. I love those movies, though. Oh, Mohi Tahiri comes in there, though. Holy Mountain is the best choice. Jodorowsky is like a prophet to me. Very appropriate. That was very much what he intended himself to be, a prophet, a cinematic prophet. I love Jodorowsky. So hopefully that helps you. Oh, Jack coming in there too. Go with The Holy Mountain, kid. I think we've made the choice. Holy Mountain. Oh, Chaz's Dungeon again. I just bought Twin Peaks: The Return on DVD. My brother, I think, is still waiting to get that on Blu-ray, wants to dive into all that. Watching the behind-the-scenes videos with David Lynch are extremely entertaining. Yeah, I've heard a lot of fun stories from the making of that show. What was it? There's another podcast that I listen to when I'm going to sleep at night called Doug Loves Movies with Doug Benson. And he fairly recently, I guess it was a couple months ago now, he had somebody on there, one of the actors from The Return, who told a lot of stories about Lynch and the making of the show, his small part, you know, just how strange and different and unique it was. But I really enjoyed that. A lot of great stories on that one. I forget his name, though. But, yeah, it was an episode of Doug Loves Movies. And also, for anyone, interested in learning more about the making of the show, there's another podcast I listen to called the Talk House Podcast. It used to be the Talk House Movie Podcast, but they merged that with like the music podcast. So now it's just the Talk House Podcast. But they recently had Mark Frost, co-creator and co-writer of Twin Peaks, in conversation. That's the way they do it. They have artists in conversation with one another. It's an excellent podcast. But they had Mark Frost in conversation with, I cannot remember his name, but the guy that created Mr. Robot, which is another show I've gotten many recommendations from people to watch. Have not yet watched it, but it's definitely on my list. A lot of people loving that show, Mark Frost among them. So yeah, it's the guy that created Mr. Robot and Mark Frost in conversation. And yeah, they talk a lot about the genesis of The Return and how it was done and how Lynch approached it. Very fascinating. So yeah, if you're interested in learning more and you don't have the money for the Blu-ray set, that's a great place to go. Free podcast. Yeah, with Mark Frost talking about it. I found it very fascinating. So I recommend that to any Twin Peaks fans out there. Chaz's Dungeon. I love Del Topo, although I don't believe that I'm ready for that film, The Holy Mountain. If I feel I am, I will. I admire your attitude of going with your instincts. That's the way to do it. I like that. Yeah, go with what you feel. Zach Hayes, I still need to see Badlands. I might as well. I finally caught up with his newer stuff. Lars von Trier, I would love to get back to. Still haven't seen his early work yet. I'm not too big on von Trier's early work, like Element of Crime and Europa. Very interesting stylistic pieces, but I don't know, kind of sterile to me. You know, they're movies that I'm kind of just watching them rather than experiencing them, you know? But you might have a different experience. I don't know. There's kind of there's a hypnagogic element to those movies that I guess if you can tune into that, you could potentially have a really great experience with them. But I don't know. For me, they left me a little cold. Whereas Malick, I think, has some really great early stuff. Badlands, I think, is still a tremendous movie, but very different from his other work. You know, more character grounded, more dialogue driven, with, you know, a bit more narrative to it. It's still very episodic, but a bit more narrative to it. A lot of humor, which I haven't really seen much of in his more recent work, but I was very surprised going back to Badlands recently to discover how funny it is, how darkly comic it is. But it's a great film. As much as it stands out from Malick's subsequent work, which went more in an ethereal, poetic direction, you still can recognize those elements of Malick in Badlands. It's comparatively, I guess you would say, his most conventional work, but it's still a great film. Definitely worth seeing. That's why I did a recommends video on it, which you all should watch if you haven't already. Doing a little plug for myself. Hey. But yeah, it's definitely worth seeing. And yeah, really extraordinary in a lot of ways. There's, yeah, a great script on it, beautiful cinematography by 3 separate cinematographers, and yeah, great performances from Martin Sheen and Sissy Spacek. Even though they're very detached and kind of apathetic in a lot of ways, there's a lot of subtleties happening in their characters and their relationship and their performances. It's really fascinating. Part of the movie, part of the power that the movie holds, I think, is that those characters are so enigmatic, and Malick captures them so well that the whole time you're just trying to figure them out. What are they thinking? What are they feeling? Why are they doing what they're doing? Why is, you know, the Martin Sheen character, why is he so prone to violence? And why doesn't he seem at all affected by the things he does? Sissy Spacek, why is she so passive the whole time? Why is she just going along with this? It's very fascinating. Really draws you in that way of just, yeah, making you try to figure out these enigmatic characters, which is shit that I should have said in the video, but I didn't. But like I said, live and learn. I'll try to do better with Days of Heaven, which is the next one. But yeah, definitely check out Badlands if you're a fan of Malick. Oh, Mohi Taheri, I think Holy Mountain is more interesting than El Topo. They're both great, but yeah, Holy Mountain, Jodorowsky was he was let loose quite a bit more on Holy Mountain. You know, he had more of a budget, he had more resources. He was really allowed to just go wild on Holy Mountain and really created something great. But you know, El Topo is pretty good too. But I think you're right. Yeah, Holy Mountain is, yeah, just this absolute epic. It's an epic. El Topo is an epic too, but Holy Mountain, he was just able to go so many places, bring so many of his bizarre, brilliant visions to life in that one on such a grander scale. It is great. Oh, Sasha. Oh, going back to French Connection. Gosh, I'm way behind. Yes, the transfer on the first French Connection was disowned by cinematographer Owen Roisman. Okay, and he said it does not represent the film that he shot. The signature re-release, which I own, got it right though, and the colors that were removed were restored along with the grain. Okay, yeah, because I remember, yeah, Friedkin did something really different in the transfer with the first Blu-ray. That's the one I have. So yeah, I might have to get the signature re-release. Damn it. But yeah, when I do rewatch French Connection, I'm sure I'll just rewatch the Blu-ray I own, or maybe I can find the re-release at the library or something. Watch them both back to back. That'd be kind of interesting. But thank you for clarifying that. Sasha's got the info. Sasha's got the Blu-ray info. Glad you're here. Oh, whoops. Where was I? Oh boy. Gosh, I'm way behind now. Let's see if we can go through this a little quicker. Zach Hayes, I've been meaning to see Paris, Texas. I have the Criterion, so I'll see it eventually. Watch it. Watch it, Zach. It's great. It's a masterpiece. Screenplay by Sam Shepard, genius. The direction by Wim Wenders, genius. The cinematography by Robbie Mueller, genius. The score by Ry Cooder, genius. The performances by Harry Dean Stanton, Natasha Kinski, Hunter Carson, Dean Stockwell, genius. It's a great, great movie. I love it so much. Watch it. Watch it. It's one of my favorites. Let's see. Oh, Jack, I watched The Birds when I was 6, yet I didn't really get into film until a while later. Did The Birds have an effect on you when you were 6? Did you like it? Did you not like it? I guess that's one, when you're younger, I think you're more sensitive. You're more open to films, and they can affect you in more direct ways. I think as you get older, you start building up certain defenses to block a lot of that stuff. But when you're a child, it's kind of just like everything really gets in and affects you in such potent ways. It's kind of a thing to cherish about childhood. I feel like we lose a little bit of that, or we block it off as much as possible. We build up those defenses, as we get older, and stuff doesn't affect us as much as it used to, which is kind of sad. But I guess that's part of life, isn't it? But I do kind of miss those days, when I could watch a horror film, even a bad one, which of course when you're young, you're not aware of, so much good or bad. I remember watching like Halloween 4 on TV late one night and just being terrified by it, so deeply terrified. It was the scariest thing I'd ever seen. And now I watch Halloween 4 and all I can think is, man, this is such a terrible movie. And I kind of miss that, even though Halloween 4 is not the best film, not the most respectable film, I just like having, emotional reactions to stuff, no matter what it is. Like, for instance, Coco, watching that one, I don't know if I would rank Coco as one of the best Pixar movies, but it was good. It was effective. There was a genuine emotional impact to it. So even though, the story kind of took some predictable turns, for me at least, I could kind of see where, certain plot twists were gonna come in. Even though it relies, to a certain extent on cliches, it presents them with genuineness, and with emotional commitment to the story they're telling and the characters they're creating. So, even though I was aware, of certain manipulations happening in the story, and even though I was predicting some of the twists, ultimately, it was so well done. The story was so well told. The characters were so well created. The animation and the world that it created was so beautiful and so well put together that ultimately I was affected by it. And I really cherish those experiences, like at the end when the boy sings to his grandma, "Remember Me." I don't want to spoil the context, but when you build up to that emotional payoff, it really hit me, and I loved having that reaction. And I didn't want to focus, on the cynical side of me that was kind of like, well, I saw that plot twist coming. That's kind of a cliche. It's like, I don't want to be, that cynical asshole. I want to be somebody who's emotionally open to the experiences that films are trying to give me. And Coco definitely gave me that. Yeah, during that final "Remember Me" number, the tears welled up in my eyes. The tears welled up. It wasn't a full-on weeping, like after I watched Arrival. At the end of Arrival, I was just I was I was weeping openly after Arrival. With Coco, it was more of like a man cry. It was more of just like the moisture welling up and more kind of like not tears streaming down the cheeks, but it was an emotional reaction. It was a cry. It was something that hit me and reached me and affected me, and I loved that. And I walked out, feeling like I'd had some kind of emotional catharsis, and I felt good and I felt positive and I felt like the world, wasn't such a shitty place. And I love that. And Pixar's great at that. Pixar's great at doing that. So Coco gets my recommendation, but I'm trying to do that more. I'm trying to pull down those defenses a little bit more, because I think being a teenager was especially traumatic for me. High school was, just a nightmare for me to go through. And I was very sensitive. I was very, very sensitive. Looking back, I may have been mildly autistic. A lot of people self-diagnose, stuff like that. So I don't want to sound like I'm some kind of medical professional or something, but you're seeing like the online tests you take, for figuring out like the spectrum of autism. I was definitely, on the board. I was probably, and again, I'm not a medical professional, but I'm gonna say, just in my own amateur opinion, I was probably mildly autistic when I was younger. So I was very, very sensitive to certain things. And when people did, say certain things to me, or just when I was too self-conscious, I wanted very much, to not feel bad. And I wanted very much, when I was younger, I wanted to not feel anything whatsoever. And I worked for years and years and years to try and dampen my emotions, to try and close my emotions off, to try and kill my emotions altogether. And I regret that so much, because I was so sensitive to, and so deeply and easily wounded by the world around me, that I just wanted to pull all of that inside me, just vanish inside of myself. And most of the years of my adult life now have been trying to repair that damage, of pulling myself back out, which, doing this channel and this show has really helped with that. It's been therapeutic, definitely. And, dealing with depression and anxiety. It's kind of why I do a lot of this. But, especially in recent years, I think my emotional development as an adult has been very much trying to dig all that stuff back out and bring it to the surface again, and not be afraid to feel things, not be afraid, to cry at a movie, and not be afraid to let things in and let them affect me, to try and get back to that point of when I was a very young child, before my teenage years, when, stuff would come in and I would react to it in very strong, intense ways. And I wouldn't, I wouldn't have any defenses or resistance, which, can be traumatic in certain ways. You need a certain amount of maturity and tools, for processing these things, and maybe a few defenses. But I was one of those people. I just put up too many defenses, and now all I want to do is just tear all those things down and allow myself to feel things, and allow other people to see and to communicate what I am feeling to other people. And I'm still, I think, very much in that process. I'm still, trying to figure out who I am, and the things that I feel, and allowing myself to feel those things. It's still, I don't know if it's a process that will ever end, to be frank, but it's a thing that I think I am getting better at. And the more I let those emotions out, I think the easier it has been for me to deal with certain things, like anxiety and depression, which again were those things for so long I just kept inside. I didn't talk about them. I didn't acknowledge them. I didn't want to feel them. I wanted to feel nothing. And that is the worst possible thing you can do, in my experience, at least. So yeah, definitely these past few years, I've been trying to fix a lot of that damage I did to myself, just in my own head, all those years in high school and teenage years. I want to bring all that stuff back out, but definitely cinema, doing the channel, doing this, interacting with people, and yeah, just my experiences with movies and cinema have all helped with that, have all been, I guess, part of that therapy I'm trying to give myself, which is good. I'm glad I have a way of doing that. And yeah, I hope other people can relate to that as well. I hope other people, get something out of this, whatever it is that helps maybe any of you out there with your own problems. We all have our things that we deal with. And I think definitely, in my experience at least, it helps to know that you're not alone, that other people are going through the same thing, and that things can potentially get better. There's no finish line you cross. There's nothing that happens to where, okay, now you're just a healthy, happy person. There's going to be ups and downs, but things can get better if you work at it. And if you confront it, you can find ways of dealing with it. You can find ways of coping and healing. And yeah, whatever small way I can affect the world, whatever tiny, insignificant way I can affect the world for the better in that way, I would like very much to do. So hopefully I am doing that for somebody out there. But regardless, if you're just here to have a good time, I hope I can give you that as well. Just a fun place to chat about movies and whatnot. But there you go. Got pretty heavy and confessional there for a while. I hope I didn't bring anybody down. I meant for all that to be positive. But yeah, it's just stuff you deal with, right? It's just kind of the stuff I'm dealing with. And I want to be open about that. I don't want to be ashamed of those things. And I don't think anybody else should be ashamed of dealing with stuff like that, depression and anxiety and yeah, just dealing with your own emotions and not being afraid, to show your emotions. So I do believe that's important stuff. So I'm gonna get back to the chat now and see what else we got way back here. I should jump ahead, see what people are saying currently. Oh, yeah, Sasha, thank you for being so open. Yes, I try to be. Yes. Oh, Zach Hayes, I understand with your depression points. I haven't really had bad depression this year. Glad to hear that. But I usually keep everything to myself. Yeah, that can be tricky, man. But I'm getting better with talking about it to one of my friends. I'm glad to hear about that. I'm very glad to hear that. I think that's important. I think that's very important. Yeah, to have at least somebody, that you can talk about and you can get those things out, get them out of here where they can do the most damage, and outside where they don't seem as bad, That's been my experience with it. But yeah, I'm glad you have somebody to talk about it to. I think that's very important, to have some kind of outlet. Oh, in Chaz's dungeon, I'm just a very emotionless person. Although I have cried in some films, those notably being Moon, great movie, Her, which personally I didn't care so much for, but again, movies are defined by what they mean to us as individuals. So I'm not gonna knock on your emotional reaction to Her, even if I didn't share it. And Requiem for a Dream, which is definitely one of the most emotionally devastating movies ever made, unquestionably. I don't think anybody will challenge that. Requiem for a Dream destroys anybody who watches it. It's a great movie, but oh my God, is it a gut punch? That's a tough one, but it's a great film. Chaz's Dungeon again. For some horror films, I have to deeply place myself in the situation and immerse myself to feel anything. I think that is part of art. That is part of cinema, is on the part of the audience, at least. I think we, as much as the artists, have to be willing to reveal their own vulnerabilities of saying, this is me, this is the way I view the world, these are the things I feel, these are the things I think. I think that's inherently a very vulnerable process. I think a lot of people try to use irony to protect themselves, which I can appreciate irony to a certain extent. Some people use irony in a very skillful and effective way. But for me, art has to be vulnerable. To really have an impact, art has to come from a place of vulnerability, of an artist putting themselves out there and saying, here you go. This is what I am. This is representative of who I am, what I think, and what I feel. And I think on the part of the audience, there also is a certain amount of vulnerability that is necessary to really have that communication with the movie. I think you do have to be willing to let your defenses down, put yourself in the story, put your emotions in the hands of the filmmaker, and say, okay, I'm going to go on this journey, with this artist and with this film. I'm going to let myself be affected by it. I'm going to, get invested in the characters and get invested in the story and hope that my emotions are in good hands. But yeah, I'm glad to hear that you do that with horror films, of consciously like trying to deeply place yourself in the situation and immerse yourself in that world and that atmosphere, and to make yourself feel something. It can be, a process of exploration, of discovering your own emotions and discovering yourself through those experiences. But I'm glad to hear that you do that. It was definitely, for me, that was kind of the early version of the process. Once I had reached that place where I was keeping everything bottled up, and just miserable as a result. It was a conscious decision of realizing I don't get affected by movies anymore, which were so important to me for so many years, of realizing that they no longer affected me in significant ways. Even movies that I loved just did nothing for me anymore. It was a conscious decision of deciding, like, I don't want that. I don't want to be that person. I'm starting to get emotional talking about it. I want to feel those things that I used to feel. I want to have those experiences that I used to have. And try not to lose it. And so it was a decision of saying, like, okay, I'm going to put myself in there. I'm going to really try to rediscover those emotions, to rediscover myself. And with movies that I watched, it was, at the beginning, it was, kind of forcing myself to feel things, of saying, like, okay, this is the sad scene. I need to be feeling that. This is a scary movie. I need to be feeling the horror. And it was something I kind of had to force myself into for a while, but then gradually through that process, those emotions were reawakened. And I was able to naturally empathize again, and to just naturally feel things again, and to just have those emotional reactions without having to think about it, without having to force it. Now they're just a natural part of the filmmaking experience for me again. And that dark side does want to come back a lot of times, and sometimes it does. But it's a process. It's life, and I'll have, even when that bad side does come back, I'll find a movie, or I'll have an experience, with my family or my friends that will kind of remind me, oh yeah, these are the things I want to feel. These are the experiences I want to have. This is who I want to be, or this is who I am. I can't try to bury that. and it's gotten a lot better, especially this last year. Even with everything, it's gotten a lot better. And yeah, now it is a thing where I can embrace my emotions more and be more open about it and share those things. And yeah, with movies and cinema, they, they mean what they used to mean to me again, and I'm glad that they do. I'm glad I was able to define that again, and to have that, to not lose that, to hold on to that. It's very important to me, and I don't think I don't think I would be the same person without that. So I want to hold on to that, and I'm glad I've been able to. So yeah, don't be afraid of your emotions. Let them out. And art can be great for that, especially movies, which are such a natural way of inspiring, and I think the most powerful and effective way of inspiring empathy. I think for me, more than any other art form, as much as I love, literature, music, so many other art forms, for me, movies are the most powerful tool for empathy that we've yet created. And that's why it means so much to me. It reminds me of what it is to be human, and the power of creativity and imagination, and of stepping outside of myself for a second and living in someone else's shoes for a little while. That's why movies mean so much to me, and hopefully why they mean so much to everyone else too, because they make us feel things, they make us empathize, they connect us with the world and the people around us and the emotions and lives that are out there, the experiences and perspectives that are different from our own, and allow us, to expand ourselves in a certain way, expand our emotions, expand our minds, our thoughts in different ways. That's so important to me. That's very important to me. So don't lose that. Do not lose it. Trying to look at what else is in the chat now. Sasha, virtual hug. Thank you. I feel the warmth of your hug. Oh, Jack, I've probably seen Her over 20 times and haven't been able to watch it without crying. I'm glad to hear that. What is... Oh, talking with your friends, Zach Hayes. Okay. This friend, she likes the same kinds of films as well. But I think catching this channel has helped with my depression as well, because I was overwhelmed with what to watch, but you break down what to kind of start with. I'm very glad to hear that. I'm very glad, yeah, that in whatever small way I can affect your life for the better. I'm very glad that I can do that. That definitely means a lot to me. Cinnamon Sand, art is so important for the feelings it gives. Absolutely, absolutely. Stay in touch with your feelings. Watch Equals and see what happens when you don't. Another recommendation. I haven't seen Equals. I'll need to check that one out. Equals, okay. Zach Hayes. And it's always good to catch the stream to chat. makes us feel part of the conversation instead of a disconnect with a video and not sure if you will have a conversation or not. So I appreciate your streams. I hope you keep making the awesome streams. Okay, well, I guess I'm going to have to then. Now that you've said that, I'm going to have to continue with the streams. I actually was thinking about, stopping the streaming to just do video work, and focus on that stuff. But sounds like I'm going to have to keep doing this, which is okay. Chaz's Dungeon. I give a film more merit if the film affects me emotionally, even if the film ruined me. Absolutely. Absolutely. Those are the best movies for each of us, the ones that do affect us in the deepest, most significant ways. Absolutely. You got to go with your heart, not your head. You got to go with your heart. The movies that make you feel the most strongly, rather than the ones, that are the most respected or the most intellectual, the ones that, will impress other people if you say that you like them. If you do like them, great. But if you don't, that's okay. You got to go with your heart. The ones that do just mean something to you, that mean the most to you. That's what it's all about. It's not about being right. It's not about having the correct opinion. There is no correct opinion. It's about having your own unique personal experience with cinema and with art and with the films that you love and the films that do have that effect on you. I need to blow my nose again. I'm going to mute the microphone again. Be back in just a second. Oy. Let's see. Oh, Jack, I struggle quite a bit with talking and relating with other people. And this channel and these streams have definitely helped. Very glad to hear that. Very, very glad to hear that. Yeah, this is exactly the same kind of stuff I dealt with. Yeah, it's kind of, I guess it's not surprising, but yeah, I don't know what the right way to describe it would be, but yeah, just seeing other people kind of dealing with the same stuff that I've dealt with or am dealing with, and kind of show up here. And I guess that's why I want to be open about this kind of stuff, is to potentially help somebody dealing with the same thing. So I'm very glad to hear that I am doing that in some way. Very glad. Chaz's Dungeon. Sometimes I give films merit for successfully achieving their intentions, which is why I think that Kids is a great film. Yeah, films are great for different reasons. Yeah. Something like Kids, is certainly very challenging, but it's a movie that fully achieves every intention it sets out with. It just depends on whether or not you can appreciate that. Some people definitely do not, and I can understand that. But other people do. I'm definitely one of those people. Yeah, I also think that Kids is a great film. But it's definitely not one for everybody. That makes sense. But you can't really create just a singular formula for determining whether a film is good or bad or great or terrible. It's it's going to be a conversation that happens. Everybody's going to have their own opinion. That's what art is to me. I hope I'm not repeating myself too much, but art is not, it's not about separating everything into a list of the good and the bad movies. It's about having your own reactions and opinions and sharing that and hearing what other people's reactions and opinions are. and creating that discourse. That's, I think, an extension of how art functions as a tool for empathy. You're not only empathizing with the characters up there on screen, you're not only empathizing with the story or the point of view of the artist, you're also learning to empathize with the people around you by having those discussions. Even if they disagree with you, if you can understand where they're coming from and why they reacted to that movie in that way, different from you, you're empathizing. You're learning empathy. You're building that bridge to understanding, which is, yeah, the extension of what art should be, as a bridge to empathy. Even, yeah, in the process that happens after you experience the movie. It's the conversations that you have with people about the movie. And yeah, learning to understand, not necessarily agree, but learning to understand, that person with a different point of view, with a different reaction. That's part of the empathy process, I think. Oh, Lorenzo Bencinic? Can't say with the names. I'm so sorry. Mi saluti, sono Italiano. I'm afraid I don't understand exactly what that means, but I'm sensing positivity from it. So thank you. Thank you very much, Lorenzo. I'm glad you could be here as well. Oh, Chaz's Dungeon. I know that there are some people that hate films for making them feel horrible, which is why my family hated the killing of a sacred deer, which is understandable. Yeah. Yeah, for me, if a film is, yeah, if it is something as dark as that, I guess part of it is kind of going into it with that expectation too, that this is going to be something probing the darker side of human experience, and yeah, I guess of processing that in a different way. I don't know. I guess it's hard to explain, but yeah, each film kind of gives you a different experience, and I guess you process it in different ways. Yeah, some just kind of make you feel bad, but yeah, I agree that I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. Some movies make you feel really good and great, like a Pixar movie, and they're great at doing that. But then other movies, yeah, can give you something darker and make you feel, I guess, a lot of darker emotions. But that can also be therapeutic, I think, in its own way, and it can also teach you something about yourself, in just thinking about an experience like that, and how you did react and why you did react in that certain way. I think you really just got to be, I think, willing to think about these things. And again, it's not a solitary experience, having those conversations with people, those people who maybe did hate killing of a sacred deer. I think also those people who did hate the movie, they have to have the conversations with the people who loved the movie. And yeah, we all gain something from that conversation, I think, from that transaction. So yeah, I guess definitely those kind of movies aren't going to be for everybody, understandably, but yeah, I think you can learn just as much. You can have just as powerful an experience that you learn from, that you gain something from, and that really kind of pushes your mind into an area where you do think about things in a different way, and you do, I guess, examine yourself and examine people in a different way, and you do learn something from that, whether you agree with the point of view of the artist or not. I think each film, presents its own experience for you to have, and how you take that experience and how you process that experience is entirely up to you. And again, nobody's right, nobody's wrong. Sasha, you must do what you feel is right, of course. Obi-Wan Kenobi. Words of wisdom. Zach Hayes. I can definitely relate to what you're trying to say. I started watching darker films a while back. It just shows that I don't have it that bad, if that makes sense. It always made me feel better, instead of worse. Interesting. Yeah, I guess making you just appreciate your own fortunate position a little bit more, you know? That's kind of, I guess, the way I reacted to The Revenant a little bit, watching that, just thinking, man, thank God I live in the modern era. Thank God I live in a civilization where I don't have to fend for myself in that way, because I would die. Um, does give you a little bit more of an appreciation, certainly. But also, yeah, going on that journey with that character in The Revenant, I think it is transcendent as well, you know, going to those extremes. I think, yeah, you do sort to start to transcend the suffering in a certain way, and kind of, I guess, through the extremeness of it, through the extreme emotions, you do kind of get pushed into more of a spiritual plane, I think, for me at least. It's like Touching the Void, that documentary. Um, when the guy, he's experienced so much pain and discomfort and suffering that eventually he just kind of steps outside of himself, you know, and he starts taking on this cosmic existential perspective of just being pushed to such an extreme state. He did kind of end up learning something incredibly profound through that journey. But, you know, most of us probably wouldn't be willing to go on a journey like that. But, you know, art gives us a place to experience that and to empathize with that. But yeah, it is interesting. Yeah, the way those, I guess, those more emotionally challenging and darker kinds of films, I think they do try to reach often for some kind of transcendence through that. I guess that's kind of what most films try to reach for, is some kind of emotional transcendence. Not a lot of them really achieve it, but when they do, my God, is it incredible. But yeah, I think you just need the variety. You definitely need the variety. I think if all films were positive and life affirming and, I guess, safe, that wouldn't be a good thing. We'd be blocking ourselves off to another aspect of life, to another plane of human experience. But by the same token, if all films, you know, were dark and depressing and horrible, I think that would also be limiting, because, you know, life is both things. It's all things simultaneously. It's good and bad. It's happy and sad. It's dark and wonderful, all at once. It's just the breadth of human experience. It's the wealth of human experience. I think you need all of that, and you need that variety of artists all bringing their perspective to it, each of which is unique and different from the others. Yeah, whether yeah, that person's perspective, or whether that person's experience is something, you know, dark and cynical and nihilistic, or if it is something more positive and hopeful and optimistic, it all adds to it. It all adds something, you know, to just I guess the collective of experiences that art is. Yeah, I think you need all of it. I think you need all of it. Good and bad, dark and light, positive and negative, optimistic, pessimistic. I think you need all of it and everything in between. Art is about variety, the variety of the human experience. So I guess that's what I'm trying to say, you know? And whatever experience a film tries to give me, I try to be receptive to it, and I try to take what I will out of it. If it's something, great. If it's nothing, too bad. And if it is something, you know, really big and significant, great. That's what I'm after. Those are the experiences I'm hunting for in movies, you know. What else we got? Cinnamon saying, I love your channel and I love your openness. Don't ever stop. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for the words of encouragement. Zach Hayes, well, I don't want to stop you from making great content. You can stop for a little bit and not do as many streams if you want. I would just like a little warning ahead of time. I guess for now, I've kind of worked it out where I don't think I'm going to stop the streams. I'm going to keep going with it. I guess just my depression kind of flared up recently. And so I guess it was just kind of a situation of like, I don't even know why I'm doing this. What's the point? It was kind of one of those things. In addition to like, I don't know if I want to focus on this or that. I'm kind of questioning what I was, just doing with the stuff I was making. But I think I've settled it a little bit. So it's, I am going to continue the streams, so you don't have to worry about that. Just a little bit of a crisis, that's all. Let's see. Sasha, any chance you're going to go way back in the earlier comments that you have not seen? Yes, I should probably do that. And gosh, the stream's been going for a little while, so might have to bring it to a close soon, but I should jump back and check out some of those other comments that I missed. Stacy Gomez, have you seen Spun? Yes, I have. I thought that was well, I thought it was a good movie. There were things about it that really troubled me. Things I didn't enjoy so much. Because that is definitely a movie that goes into some dark places, and that challenges you as a viewer in a lot of ways. Yeah, because it's about drug addiction and poverty and squalor and all these very desperate, broken down people. And it contains a great deal of disturbing content. Some of which did really trouble me, but also at the same time, a pretty amazingly stylized film with a lot of very memorable characters and scenes and set pieces. It's I don't know. It's one that I think is worth seeing. Definitely, it's got some strengths, some very strong vision to it, very strong elements to it. But I don't know. It's one that definitely I could easily see, and that a lot of people have really hated, despised, and I can understand why. But I think it is overall, a very good film, a very extraordinary film. It's been a long time since I've seen it. I watched it a while ago, but I still remember things in it very vividly. And for me, if a movie sticks with you, if it makes that indelible an impression upon you, then it was doing something right. It was doing something that was really extraordinary and significant, and I can't deny that. I can't ignore that. So it's a movie that did definitely affect me in a strong way. I'd like to go back to it, but I wasn't quite willing to accept everything about it. But if it's one that I'm still remembering, John Leguizamo, jumping out of bed wearing nothing but a sock, and that poor woman that gets handcuffed to the bed in one kind of subplot. And just certain other moments, if they've stuck with me this long, then definitely there was a strength and a power to the imagery and to the story and to the way it was presented, that hit me in a deep way. So I got to give it credit for that. I definitely do have to give it credit for that. It's just a question of how many people are willing to have that experience, But I think it definitely is an extraordinary film in that sense. Jack, the films of Steve McQueen, the director, of course, really get my emotions in ways most films just don't. I might actually consider Shame to be the saddest film I've seen. Not going to disagree with you there. It's all of his movies, are devastating emotional experiences, and he does reach really deep, into trying to get those. Into going to those dark, extreme places and of trying to get the authentic emotion out of that. And the results, I think in all three of his films so far have been pretty amazing. And I very much look forward to seeing what he does next. But all three of his films, Hunger, Shame, and 12 Years a Slave, have been pretty incredible. And really do reach very deeply. And the actors that go along with him, reaching for those things in themselves, they're all extraordinary films. And Shame, Shame's a tough one. Shame is a tough one, but it is pretty great too, as well. On top of that, Zach Hayes, I haven't seen Spun in a while, but it seemed like it was trying to be the next Requiem for a Dream to me. There was that element to it, yes, definitely. But I think Spun approached it with more of a sense of humor. For me, yes, Spun was more of a dark comedy. Extreme in a lot of ways, but more of a dark comedy, whereas Requiem for a Dream was just kind of a straight tragedy. So I think it does distinguish itself in that sense of approaching it with its own attitude. But you do see a lot of the techniques pioneered by Aronofsky in Requiem for a Dream. You do see those popping up in Spun quite a bit. So, okay. But, what film or filmmaker, doesn't take influence from the things around them to a certain extent? I guess it just, it depends on how much of that you're going to be conscious of and how much you're going to be willing to accept that. But I think Spun does stand pretty strongly on its own. It's Stacey Gomez again. Agree with you. Spun really stands out. Weird and unusual. Worth a watch. Yeah, definitely. Though, yeah, with the warning that you may not enjoy the experience you have. But yeah, if you like that kind of stuff, definitely go for it. And Sasha, did you get to the end of Oz? It's still my personal favorite TV program. Who is giving a thumbs down? How dare they? I did see that. Somebody gave a thumbs down. Oh, well, I can't tell people what to think. Some people or some person, was definitely not feeling the seriousness. Oh, well. I guess whatever. I don't think it's worth really dwelling on. I got 4 thumbs up. Hey, that's good. Yeah. Let's focus on that. But hey, even the thumbs down still helps me. It pushes the video higher in search results and stuff like that, from what I understand. So hey, let's not knock the thumbs down. That still helps me, regardless. Okay, now I'm gonna go back a little bit. What was that? I think that was the upstairs neighbors. They're noisy. Let me see. Let me try to find some of the stuff I missed back here. Where did I leave off? Let me see if I could find that. Oh, okay, I'm seeing French Connection stuff. Okay, maybe I should start. Oh, okay, Paris, Texas. Here we go. Sasha, Robert Pattinson is great in The Rover, too. David Michôd's fantastic follow-up to Animal Kingdom. Damn it, I'm pretty sure I wrote that one down. The Rover. That is right. I'm definitely going to have to try and, get a hold of The Rover. I've heard that's very good. Glad I went back to some of this stuff. Okay, let's see what else we got here. Let's see, French Connection. Sagnick, Pattinson was great in Good Time. Please stop apologizing for saying my name. I'm so sorry. Now I'm apologizing for apologizing. Jesus, what's wrong with me? Okay, yeah, I'll stop. Let's see. Oh, Zach Hayes. I just watched the documentary about Jim and Andy, The Great Beyond. I thought it was very interesting with Kaufman's family. That was a very interesting documentary. Yeah, it's on Netflix. Jim and Andy, The Great Beyond. It's about Jim Carrey going method and stepping into character as Andy Kaufman for the making of a great movie called Man on the Moon by Milos Forman. An excellent film. I never really knew much about the making of it. Like, I'd never heard that Carrey went, never dropped character during the whole production. I never knew about how far he took it and how extreme it was. But yeah, it was a very fascinating documentary. Apparently the behind the scenes footage was considered potentially so damaging that the studio behind the movie kept it suppressed for 20 years, and it's only just now been let out into the open. A very fascinating documentary, though. I think definitely worth a look, and an examination of artistic expression, yeah, and of when does an artist go too far in the pursuit of their art. A very interesting examination, yeah, of where those lines are, of ethics. A very fascinating study of that. And also just a really entertaining documentary on top of that, and a peek behind the crazed making of a great film too. Let's see. Chaz's Dungeon. I can't wait to hear your response to Zardoz. Now that I'm back in the same place as my brother, he does have the Zardoz Blu-ray, so I'll have to give that a watch. It's on my list. I know that's on my list. Got to give that one a watch. Let's see. Ooh, Sasha talking about Bad Company service. I pre-ordered 3 Blu-rays from my usually very dependable US-based company, Criterion, Silence of the Lambs, Better Call Saul 3, Season 3, Game of Thrones Season 7, and I've been refunded for all of them with no explanation. That's very strange. Oh, Film Persona. In reference to Tarantino's Star Trek, I read that Tarantino is only pitching an idea to Abrams for it to be directed by another director. Oh, okay. So he won't be directing it. He'll be a supervisor. That makes much more sense to me. I'm glad I'm glad somebody said something about that. That makes much more sense to me. Chaz's Dungeon. I recently watched The Disaster Artist. Saw it with a crowd that loved The Room, and while I had my problems, I had a fun time watching the film. Glad to hear that. I'm really looking forward to seeing that one. Let's see. Ooh, Johnny Ray Brawley, getting Twin Peaks Season 3 in time for Christmas. Loved it, then hated it, then didn't know what was real for a while, then loved it all again in classic Lynch fashion. That seems to be the experience most people have with The Return. It's a journey. It really takes you on a journey. Can't wait to see the behind-the-scenes footage and the special features. So fascinating seeing Lynch's artistic process. Yeah. I'm going through this relatively quickly, just seeing, all the stuff that I missed. And then we'll probably wrap up the stream. Zach Hayes, Tarantino's Manson film is supposed to be released on the 50th anniversary of the murders. Ugh, macabre. Hopefully it's not in poor taste with the subject matter as he decides to portray it, definitely. Although with Tarantino, he skirts the lines. He kind of blurs the lines between, I guess, artistic taste and exploitation. I guess that's kind of what makes him Tarantino. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see where that ends up. I'm sure, it's gonna skirt at the very least dangerously close, to poor taste. But I'm curious to see how that turns out. And Manson just passed away recently. Oh, damn it! Spilled coffee on myself. Jeez, what an interesting stream this has turned out to be. Stain these pants. I only have 2 pairs of work pants. Now they got coffee stains on one of them. Great. Oh, well. Let's see. Just going to keep going. Just going to keep powering through. Maybe I can finish this coffee off. Son of a bitch. Oh my God. We've got to end this soon. I'm losing it. God damn it. Oh man. Okay. Let me see if I can drink correctly. There we go. Now I got to try and clean this up afterwards. Holy shit, how embarrassing. Okay. Let's see. Jack, I heard Kaufman doesn't care too much for Confessions of a Dangerous Mind because his screenplay was altered so much by Clooney. Yeah, it makes sense. But I think it's a good melding of their sensibilities. I like what Clooney did with it, even if it very likely does depart heavily from what Kaufman originally wrote. I think the results are still very strong. I'm a big fan of Confessions of a Dangerous Mind. I really enjoy that movie. Um, Justin Peterson, what's your favorite from Lars von Trier? Tough choice. Very tough choice as I sit in my coffee-stained pants. Breaking the Waves is up there. That's a movie that never fails to hit me in a profound way. I'm always deeply affected by that movie every time I watch it, and I've probably seen it like 6 or 7 times at this point, and it hasn't lost any of its potency. But also at the same time, I'm a huge fan of Melancholia and that movie's portrayal of depression, and also just the visual experience that it is. I'm a big fan of Antichrist. I think that's one of the most effectively disturbing and atmospheric and visionary horror films ever made. Nymphomaniac, I'm a big fan of. Just the scope of that one, the crazed ambition of it, and yeah, just how extreme it goes, into certain places. Again, a movie that really deeply affects me with its portrayal of the central character, Jo, and exploring her depression and her desperate need for emotional connection that seems to continuously evade her. Von Trier's done a lot of great stuff. I don't know if I could pick a favorite, but for me, the holy trifecta is definitely Breaking the Waves, Melancholia, and Nymphomaniac. And I'm going to throw Antichrist in there too. Those are the 4 that have affected me most deeply. I don't know if I could pick a favorite among them. Maybe Breaking the Waves, but I'm not sure because I love the other 3 so much, the Depression trilogy. So that's a tough question for me. But if I can narrow it down to those 4, that's it. And Sasha, Richard Donner and the boys are back for Lethal Weapon 5. Maybe now they really are too old for this shit. Very nice. Well done. Yeah, I didn't hear about that. I didn't know about Lethal Weapon 5. That's kind of, I don't know about that. Doing sequels, to popular film series after so much time has passed, that's very rarely a good thing, I think. I didn't care, for when Bruce Willis came back for Die Hard, didn't care much for those. Didn't care much for, Indiana Jones coming back. Although, I don't think, I guess because the reputation is so negative, I don't think Indy 4 is as bad as it's made out to be, but it's definitely nowhere near as good as the original trilogy, of course. So yeah, Lethal Weapon 5. I don't know, the Lethal Weapon movies, at least the first 2, I've never actually sat down for 3 or 4, but the first 2, especially the first one, they're still pretty fun. Still, they've definitely increased in camp value, but I think they're still pretty fun buddy cop movies. And, they were intended as comedies to begin with, so it's not like they've aged that poorly. But Lethal Weapon 5, I don't know. I don't think I can get behind that. But we'll see. I never want to be too harsh and dismissive because, geez, you never know what might turn out to be amazing. Seems like we just had something like that. Something that, for me at least, I was certain was going to be awful, but then it turned out to be good. I can't remember what it was. But yeah, Lethal Weapon 5, just, hearing it as a concept, Richard Donner, Mel Gibson, Danny Glover, everyone I'm assuming coming back. I don't know. I think there are other ideas out there. But we'll see. If it happens, hopefully it's good, Always, yeah, you never know. Yeah, and of course, yeah, I always am hoping for good movies to be made, wherever they may come from. Oh, and Zach Hayes. Knight of Cups seemed like the American dream, not living up to what we think it's going to be on the film side. Oh, yeah, in terms of success and wealth, kind of not having all the answers. Definitely. Yeah, I can definitely see that of somebody dealing with the hollowness, of success and wealth. in the context of the film industry. Definitely, yeah, I think Knight of Cups is about that. I think Song to Song is more about love and the song side of it all, if that makes sense. Song to Song kind of reminded me of To the Wonder as well. But I hate that you pretty much have to have subtitles on for his newer films to somewhat understand his poetry-esque style. Yeah, pardon me. Sorry, I really need to, we're gonna bring this to a close soon. Yeah, it's interesting, yeah, with his newer films like To the Wonder and Knight of Cups. Yeah, like the voice, there's almost no dialogue. Most of the voiceover is kind of whispered. You only kind of half hear most of it. It's interesting. He's branching out. He's trying different things. He's really kind of moving in his own direction. Although he did say his next one, World War II film, or is it World War I? I think it's World War II. With his next film, he's going to move more kind of in a narratively grounded direction, kind of pull it back a little bit. So it'll be interesting to see, yeah, I guess with what he's learned, what he's gained, you know, from these experiments that he's been doing, how he applies that to a more narrative-driven film. But I look forward to that. You know, even though I wasn't too big on Knight of Cups, Malick is just out there in a world of his own, a realm of his own, doing things that nobody else is really doing, which I think is always exciting and definitely what I appreciate about him and his work. Yeah, I got to see Song to Song. I said that already, but yeah, I got to see it. Oh, Jack. Holy Mountain, going back to that one, is one of the best comedies to me. I find it hilarious and believe it is intentionally so. I think definitely, yes, there is a serious side to Jodorowsky's work. I think there are definitely large parts of them that are intended to be taken seriously, but absolutely, I agree with you. There is comedy in his work, and there is definitely a side to his work that is intended to be funny. Absolutely. I think Jodorowsky definitely has a sense of humor, and I think that does come out in his work. I think there are absolutely, yeah, sequences in El Topo that are intended to be funny, and yeah, a lot of sequences in Holy Mountain that are intended to be funny. I don't know if I agree with you that it's meant to be a comedy. I think it is very much, on the whole, meant to be taken seriously. But yeah, there are also definitely things in it that can be taken, that do get taken as unintentional comedy. But there is also absolutely a lot of intentional comedy in Holy Mountain, in El Topo, in Santa Sangre, in Dance of Reality. There's absolutely humor to Jodorowsky, and I don't feel like that gets acknowledged enough. I think a lot of people assume he's just trying to be completely serious, and I don't agree with that. I think he's mixing seriousness and humor in all of his work. Oh, Zach Hayes, I recently finally got Twin Peaks: The Return on Blu-ray, but I haven't finished all the features on the last disc. But the feature is like 4 hours long. Oh, the features are like 4 hours long. That's very cool, though, to get that, yeah, that extensive or that amount of material. That's very cool. My brother, yeah, he hasn't gotten The Return on Blu-ray yet, but he and Felix, because Felix has never seen Twin Peaks, they're going through Twin Peaks again. So I'm sure that means he's going to be buying the Return set fairly soon. Because, yeah, my brother's going through Twin Peaks again, but now he's introducing Felix to it. So Felix is experiencing Twin Peaks for the very first time. They're a few episodes into season 1, I believe. But yeah, they're going to do the first 2 seasons. I'm assuming they're going to do the movie, and then they're going to do the Return. And so I assume at that point is when my brother's going to buy the Return Blu-ray, and they'll go through it again. It'll be interesting to see how Felix reacts. Oh, and Sasha, yeah, going back to Gene Seberg. Speaking of Gene Seberg, my mom looks like a cross between her and Diane Keaton and Felicity Kendall from The Good Life, if you know her too. I'm not familiar with Felicity Kendall. When she was younger, she was often mistaken for Felicity Kendall. Huh. I don't even know what The Good Life is. I'll have to write that down. Check it out. Over my coffee stain. The Good Life. Yeah, I'm not familiar with Felicity Kendall. Whoops. But yeah, definitely Gene Seberg and Diane Keaton. Hey, not a bad thing to be compared to those two. Justin Peterson, should I watch Algeri, The Wrath of God, High and Low, or Nostalgia for the first time tonight? Oh man. That's a tough choice. That's a very tough choice. I guess for me, I haven't seen Nostalgia, so I can't approach that one fairly. High and Low is not one of my favorite Kurosawa films, personally. It's like any Kurosawa film, it has its strengths. It's extraordinary in certain ways. But I don't know, that one didn't hit me, the same way like something like Seven Samurai hit me, or Kagemusha, the Kurosawa films that really affected me. High and Low was kind of one, I don't know, felt a little long to me. Although again, it's been a while since I've seen it. But it definitely does have some strengths. Toshiro Mifune is never not great. So, I mean, there's that. And yeah, Kurosawa, he always makes films in an extraordinary way. So there's always things to appreciate. But for me, High and Low, is not one of his best. Aguirre, though, I'm big on Herzog. Herzog's probably my favorite director. So I guess for me, I'd go with Aguirre. But I'm probably not the best, because I haven't seen Nostalgia, so I'm missing a third of that equation. But if I were choosing, I'd say Aguirre. So hopefully I've helped you there. Oh, and Justin Peterson also just saw Paris, Texas. Excellent third act. Excellent everything, man. Paris, Texas, excellent in every way, for me at least. I love that movie. Oh, Jack, getting back to The Birds. Little me really liked The Birds. Bigger me still quite likes The Birds. Hey, good. It scared me quite a bit as a young one. Yes, of course. What doesn't scare you as a child, right? For me, at least, I was a sensitive kid. I was a squeamish kid. I was scared by everything. Mohi Tahiri. Had a great time with you guys, but the earth is round and it's 2:30 a.m. here, so I need to go to bed. Have a great day or night. I'm sure you probably left ages ago, but I wish you a good night regardless, even if it's this late. And Justin Peterson again, what's your favorite from Kubrick? Mine is A Clockwork Orange. For me, it's got to be 2001. 2001 was, I've said it before, it was one of those formative experiences for me where I really, for the first time, was aware of a director's vision. I was aware of the possibilities in film as an art form. 2001 really blew my mind the first time I saw it, and was one of those films that first started getting me into cinema in a real big way. So for me, the favorite Kubrick, it's always going to be 2001, always. Nothing is really going to ever top that. Just for the time I saw 2001 for the first time and the impact it had on me, it's always going to be number one in my book. And it will always have a permanent place in my top 10. Even though I've never really solidly made a top 10, 2001 is always potentially going to have a spot on there. But Kubrick, Kubrick is Kubrick. He's got a lot of great stuff. I love The Shining, love Clockwork Orange. Eyes Wide Shut, I think, is really interesting in a lot of ways. I have problems with Eyes Wide Shut, but there's also some great stuff in it as well. And Full Metal Jacket, Full Metal Jacket, first time I saw it, yeah, that was another one that really blew me away. Shining, I had to see a couple times to really appreciate, but Full Metal Jacket, that one really hit me hard the first time. And I got problems with that one too, but, Kubrick's vision is always so strong in every frame, every shot. It's impossible to ignore, That's what makes his work so extraordinary. But yeah, 2001, got to be 2001. Let's see. Sasha, Paris, Texas is a classic for sure. On the Criterion Blu-ray, there's a strange pulsating light effect in the final act, which starts then continues to the very end of the film. Very strange, as they produce such fantastic results. That's odd. That might be because cinematographer Robbie Mueller was very big on using natural light and available light, that was just in a location. So it could be that they shot certain scenes with fluorescent lighting, which does have a tendency, to kind of pulsate and flicker when it's on film. So that might be the cause of that, and Criterion perhaps just decided to, stay true to the source material and keep that fluorescent effect. But I'm not certain. I'd have to rewatch the film again and look at it. Could be, yeah, it could be a defect or some kind of error. But my assumption would be that it's inherent in the original cinematography, that Mueller was kind of using the fluorescent lighting in a certain way and kind of embracing that that flicker you get with fluorescence. Typically, cinematographers try to avoid using fluorescent lights, but sometimes they are embraced. Like Brian De Palma also used fluorescent lighting in certain stylistic ways, like the opening of Carlito's Way, which is the ending of the film, essentially. Carlito dying. It's the opening. It's not a spoiler. It's the opening of the movie. But De Palma deliberately employed fluorescent lighting, to get kind of a sickly flicker in the image on the film. So that could be it. I'm not certain on that, but that's what I would imagine that would be part of, or would be a part of that. Oh, and here we are when I got all heavy. So I'm basically caught up. But where have we gone since then? Whoop. Where else? Okay, Spun. There we are. Oh, and Oz. I forgot about that. I'd never talked about Oz. You brought that up, Sasha. But no, I have not finished Oz yet. I think I'm still on season 3. Did I start season 3? I think I may have started season 3, or maybe I'm waiting to start season 3. I got through the first 2 seasons, but I think I got 3 left. It's 5 seasons, right? So I think, I still need to dive into season 3. Television's overwhelming to me. So many hours you have to devote to it. So I always, am afraid to jump into that time commitment. I really need to, though. I need to finish Oz. True Detective, Mr. Robot. What was the other one you mentioned? True Detective. Did I write it down? True Detective. God, what was the other one? Why is it slipping my mind? I'm sure it'll come up. I know. I've got most of this stuff written down, so I'm sure it's in here somewhere. It was Boardwalk Empire. I saw that one. But and True Detective, I know, is the big one. Fargo, that's right, Fargo. That was the other one. Got to finish Fargo too. So got a lot. Oh, Jack just gave a thumbs up. Hey, thank you. I did see the thumbs up jump significantly. So, very much appreciated. Very much appreciated. Thank you so much. Justin Peterson, have you seen 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri yet? I thought it was excellent, similar to Fargo, but much grittier. Yes, there were a lot of similarities to Fargo. But I did mention this at the beginning of the stream. I just last night saw 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. And it was excellent. Very, very good. I was very impressed by it. It was, I think for me, probably what's his face, Martin McDonagh. I think it's probably his best work yet. It's very dark and goes to some really disturbing places, but comparatively relative to his first 2 movies, to In Bruges and 7 Psychopaths, this is comparatively like lighthearted, like warm, friendly, like heartwarming Martin McDonagh. This has been, I think, his most the film he's made so far with the most humanity, with the most emotion, with I guess the most sensitivity that I've felt. But I really liked it. It goes in so many unexpected directions. You really can't predict where the story's going to go. The characters surprise you in so many ways. Characters that start out sympathetic, they do certain things, they make certain choices that kind of flip them into unsympathetic characters, but then they do other things that flip them back. It's really interesting the way, how many chances he takes, with the material that he presents, with the language, with the balancing, of of drama and dark comedy. It's really, really good, though. Really masterfully done. The script, yeah, is just excellent, and the performances are amazing. Frances McDormand has never been better. She was so good in the lead role. One of her best, I think. One of her best performances ever. But I mean, yeah, Woody Harrelson, Sam Rockwell, Caleb Jones, gosh, who else? Peter Dinklage, Abby Cornish. Such a great cast, and everyone was so, so good. Everyone had such a great character to play, complex character, great scenes, great dialogue. Yeah, just everyone was so good. But man, Frances McDormand, she walks away with the whole thing. She's so freaking good in that movie. Definitely worth a look. I might do a recommends video on it. I haven't really done anything on that series that's still playing in theaters so far, but I'd like to. But I might, yeah, try to do a recommends video on that one. It was really, really good. Yeah, I think Martin McDonagh's best work so far. And I've been a fan of his stuff. In Bruges and Seven Psychopaths, very smart, clever screenplays. But for me, Three Billboards, it had an emotional depth to it that was really, really satisfying. So you had the clever screenplay, you had the great characters and snappy dialogue, but you also had a real emotional weight to it, a nuance and sensitivity that, to me, shows his maturing as a filmmaker and a screenwriter. I feel like in a certain way, like his first two movies were really kind of trying to like subvert the conventions of filmmaking and really trying to play with cinematic storytelling in a self-conscious way with great results. Those In Bruges and Seven Psychopaths are both really good movies, but especially Seven Psychopaths, I feel like he was really consciously trying to play with I guess with the way movies tell their stories and with the expectations audiences have. It's kind of almost like it's a comedy, obviously, a dark comedy, but also I think a really subversive examination of filmmaking and film storytelling. Whereas with Three Billboards, there's that element at play. There's that playfulness. There's that cynicism. There's that subversion happening constantly. But also, I think he's taking the emotional story very seriously and very sincerely. And yeah, really trying to dig in and examine these characters, and their pain and their complexity in really interesting ways. But I thought it was great. I thought it was a great movie. Highly recommended. Yeah, we'll see if I can manage to put together a recommends video on that one too, where I can kind of coalesce my thoughts and present them more elegantly. But yeah, it was great. I'm glad I saw it. Really glad I saw it. Cinnamon Sand. The Rover is underrated. And Jack the Rover is weird, but good. Yeah, definitely need to see The Rover. Ooh, Cinnamon Sand. Von Trier's Dogville is very experimental, but good too if you get into it. Yeah, Dogville didn't quite work for me. I liked how different it was. The conceptual approach that Von Trier took to it, took with it. I like it visually. And yeah, the actors are all game and really delivering strong work. But yeah, I don't know, just the length of the story, how nihilistic it is, how dark it is. I don't know, it's a little too relentless for me. I guess for me, something like Nymphomaniac, as dark and as harsh as it is, there's things kind of breaking it up. There's humor, there's variety, there's kind of like he's playing with different moods and kind of going back and forth. Whereas for me, Dogville is just so relentlessly grim. It's a lot for me to take. So I haven't really enjoyed my experience with Dogville. But yeah, it's another one. It's been a while since I've seen it. I would like to revisit it. It's an interesting movie nonetheless, even if personally didn't quite work for me. Let's see. Sasha, it's been yet another wonderful stream. Thank you. Oh, and Kubrick Lover just tuned in. Full Metal Jacket has a good beginning with the boot camp. The last part with the sniper, but the rest of it seems to sag. And that scene with the song "Going to the Chapel" reminds me of Platoon. Yeah, it's I guess I would describe it as kind of a meandering film, Full Metal Jacket, and kind of an inconsistent film, but one with moments of real genius. And you can't ignore that. You know, you got to give that movie credit. Any movie that can have even flashes of genius, I think, is something to be appreciated. And yeah, Kubrick's vision and his brilliance, I think, yeah, in certain moments in Full Metal Jacket definitely shine through. And it's a movie crafted of really extraordinary sequences, followed by sequences that are not so extraordinary, but still that bear the mark of Kubrick's sensibility, that bear his signature nonetheless. That then leads to other extraordinary sequences. It's an episodic film, and you really kind of have to take each episode on its own strengths and weaknesses, which I guess is what kind of makes it inconsistent. But that was Kubrick. He never cared much for traditional narrative. Each movie would kind of just rewrite the rules depending on how he was approaching the material. Oh, there are 6 seasons of Oz. Sasha, yeah, okay. 6 seasons of Oz. So I've got 4 more to go. But yeah, I need to get in. I need to start season 3. I'm probably going to do season 2 of Fargo first, then maybe try to get True Detective in there, and then maybe come back to Oz. I'm not sure, though. Oh, and Quarry is a really fantastic miniseries. I think it's perfect. Damn it. More. How do you spell that? Quarry. Quarry. All right. Look into it. Oh, and Jack, I honestly think the second half of Full Metal Jacket is the better half. Interesting. I think most people would, yeah, probably feel the opposite, but that's interesting. I think definitely the second half has its memorable moments, and yeah, there are definitely images and moments, yeah, and sequences in it that really do stand out, that are very powerful. But I don't know, Arlie Ermy is such a force in that first half. It's like he really kind of gives it a drive that the second half, for me, doesn't quite have. Yeah, Ermy's presence in that first half really gives it a focus and a drive, I think. Whereas in the second half, it kind of becomes a little lost. But maybe that's intentional. I don't know. But that was my reaction to it. And Kubrick lover, I think Platoon is the ultimate Vietnam film of the ones I have seen. I haven't seen films like Casualties of War. That's a good one. That's got some good stuff in it. Gardens of Stone. Haven't seen that one. One of Coppola's lesser-known works. Or Coming Home, which I love. Coming Home. I love that. I love how it views the aftermath, the effects and the consequences in the aftermath of war. I really love, yeah, the perspective that film brings to wartime, and yeah, just how the pain, it doesn't really end, once the service ends. How it kind of continues into life and trying to readjust, after all this trauma. It's an excellent movie, though. Yeah, Jane Fonda and Jon Voight are both incredible in it. Hal Ashby's direction, yes, some of the best he ever did. I love Coming Home, so I highly recommend you check that one out. And Kubrick lover again. So I'm just going on the films I have seen. Platoon's a good one, and it's based very much in reality, in autobiography. So I mean, there's a layer of observation and authenticity in Platoon that I don't think you really get in any other Vietnam films, because Oliver Stone was very much writing about his own experiences. But for me, it's Apocalypse Now. Apocalypse Now is another one of those formative films like 2001: A Space Odyssey that really jolted me, that where I was aware of a director and a vision and the lengths to which some artists will go, to bring their visions to life. It really had a huge impact on me. Apocalypse Now is still, one of my all-time favorite movies, So in terms of movies that deal with the subject matter of the Vietnam War, I think that will always be my favorite, just because, yeah, it had such a tremendous impact on me. But I see where you're coming from with Platoon. I think that, yeah, it does have. I think that does have the most authenticity, which obviously, because of the autobiography, like I said, it does have the most authenticity to it. It feels the most based in real experience and observation of that experience. It's still a great movie. Oh, and Sasha, I really like, sorry, Casualties of War. It has a hallucinogenic quality. I have the Blu-ray, of course you do. It's been a long time since I've seen Casualties of War. I would like very much to revisit that one. And Kubrick Lover, 2001 is my favorite Kubrick as well. Technically ahead of its time. Oh man, so far ahead of its time. It still holds up to this day. There are certain, little moments, little effects moments that don't hold up as well, but I mean, they're so small and brief. Still, the images of the space station, the moon base, the spaceship on the way to Jupiter, it still looks incredible. It still looks flawless. It's an amazing film. Oh, and also an art film. Hal is one of the greatest villains of all time. Yeah, I don't even know if I feel comfortable calling him a villain, though. He's kind of the most human character in that entire movie. He's the one you feel the most sympathy for. He kind of has the most depth. But, yeah, he's the most complex character, fascinating character. So I don't know. Would I call him a villain? Probably not. But, yeah, he is one of the best things about that movie. Let's see. Whoa. Trying to wrap it up here. Whoop. Okay. Oh, Zach Hayes. I wanted a little bit more by the end of Three Billboards. Okay, I kind of needed a release, so to speak, without spoiling it. Yeah, I think that's kind of the point, is that McDonough, yeah, deliberately trying to avoid, big spoilers here. So I'm going to try and talk in as vague of terms as I possibly can. But yeah, by the end, I think McDonough deliberately refrains from giving you that catharsis, and he tries, yeah, to take it in some different directions, some riskier, more unexpected directions. But I liked that. For me, I very much liked that. I liked the feeling of ambiguity that the movie leaves you with, and of unresolved pain. I think that was the point of it, is that it's kind of trying to examine wounds that never quite heal. And I thought it did an excellent job of examining that. So for me, it worked. I enjoyed the ending. It really left me deeply affected. And yeah, thinking about the movie for a long time after it was over. I'm still thinking about it, still kind of settling and processing. So I liked the end, but also I could see where you're coming from, because yeah, definitely you want that release at the end of the movie. You want it, and he doesn't give it to you. But I think there's a reason he doesn't give it to you. And yeah, for me, that really worked. That was really interesting, and I liked that. I liked being surprised in that way, and that he was subverting those expectations you have, for where the movie's going to go. He's like, no, I'm not going to go there. I'm going to take it here in this other way, and you got to be willing to go along with me. So I definitely like that. And Kubrick Lover again. I saw the director of Seven Psychopaths at the Jacob Burns Film Center in Pleasantville, New York. Pleasantville. Ironic. I really don't like Seven Psychopaths. I didn't really find it that funny. Understandable. What can I say? It's not everyone's sense of humor. I definitely understand that. It's, yeah, very dark, very confrontational, definitely not, PC, politically correct. So yeah, it's really not going to be to everyone's taste. And yeah, even for me, it kind of went too far in some spots. But overall, yeah, I did kind of enjoy its sadistic qualities. Yeah, for me, overall, it did work. I think just basically, yeah, based definitely understand, yeah, people that don't like it. And Kubrick lover. I agree with the genius parts of Full Metal Jacket. And have you seen all of Von Trier's films? I believe so. I'm trying to think. I think I have. I think I've seen all of Von Trier's movies. Yeah, I saw all the early stuff. I even saw Epidemic and Medea, the one he did for television. I've seen all of The Kingdom, the TV show he did. I saw The Boss of It All. I saw Five Obstructions. Seen The Idiots, although I need to revisit that one. Yeah, I think I'm all up to date on everything. I think I've seen all of it, except for the new one, of course, for obvious reasons, because it's not out yet. It's not finished. But I do plan on seeing that one. So yeah, I think I've seen all of Von Trier. And Cinnamon San, I am off to bed. It's getting late over here. Take care. Talk to you all later. Hope to have seen some new movies then. Bye bye. Bye bye, Cinnamon San. Thank you for joining us. And yeah, we gotta close it fairly soon. Sorry, Kubrick Lover just showed up. And yeah, it's right at the end here. I'm sorry about that. Kubrick Lover. Kubrick might have been trying to reconstruct the narrative model with Jacket, but I just might not get it. Kubrick's one of those ones. I think we mentioned that with Lynch last week. He's one of those ones where if you don't like one of his movies, there's always that feeling like, maybe I just didn't get it. You know, he's such a towering figure in the world of cinema. It's hard not to feel like it's just, you know, your fault for not liking the movie. Kubrick's another one, definitely, where when you don't enjoy one of his movies, there's always that feeling at the end, like, maybe it was me. Maybe I just didn't get it. You know, at the end of Barry Lyndon, maybe I just didn't get it. I must not have gotten it. But I do want to give Barry Lyndon a second chance. Didn't care for it so much the first time, but it's only one viewing. So it's Kubrick, you know? So what can you do? You got to go back to it. You got to try it again. But yeah, definitely with all the stuff I've read about Barry Lyndon, I know there's definitely something there I missed. So I got to give it a second shot. But yeah, Jacket, Full Metal Jacket, I want to go back to that one too. You can never really step away from Kubrick and say like, okay, got it all figured out. Now I can move on. He's one of those ones, he'll just keep you coming back again and again. Whether you love the films or hate the films, you keep going back to them, you know? And Kubrick Lover, have you seen Being There? You mentioned Hal Ashby. Yeah, Being There, best movie, his best movie. Being There, for me, is definitely Hal Ashby's best movie. I love Coming Home. I love Harold and Maude. What else did he do? Hal Ashby. Last Detail, I thought was great. But Being There is, I think, his masterpiece. I think that's his best film. Being There is great. Peter Sellers' best performance. And yeah, I think Hal Ashby's best work. I love Being There so much. It's one of my favorites. And Kubrick Lover again. Apocalypse Now is one of my favorite films of all time and one of my top favorite war movies, but I don't regard it as a Vietnam film, but a film about war in general. That I would agree with that. Yeah, that definitely makes sense to me. Yeah, he does take it in a more allegorical sense, you know, because that movie does move into some surreal directions, especially Redux. So yeah, I definitely see where you're coming from there, that it's more about war in general. Yeah, I agree with that. But I don't know, I guess just with certain comments like Coppola made at the time, like my film is not about Vietnam, it is Vietnam. God, who would have the guts to make declarations like that these days? You'd be torn apart. But it was the 70s. Directors could get away with, you know, self-aggrandizing. Those days are over for the most part. But I guess just with comments like that, it makes me think, you know, it is very heavily related to and heavily connected to the attitudes of the time, which were very much, you know, all about, I guess, just the trauma of the Vietnam War and kind of, yeah, processing that and dealing with that. So I think it is a movie that is inextricably connected with the Vietnam War. But I do agree with Coppola's vision and the scope of what he was trying to do. It is, yeah, more about war in general. But I don't know. I still kind of view it as a Vietnam film reflexively, for better or worse. So I don't know. That's my perspective on it. Um, Ooh, Sasha, I have Crimson Peak on Blu-ray, but have not yet seen. Do you recommend it? Totally. It's Del Toro, so I think it will be interesting at least. Yeah. I think Crimson Peak was not one I was too big on at first, but definitely, once you listen to his audio commentaries and he kind of illuminates certain things, you realize like I think Crimson Peak was definitely I underestimated it in a lot of ways and was looking at it in kind of the wrong way. I think that does come down to advertising, unfortunately, the way it was pushed very much as a horror film, as a ghost story, as a haunted house movie, and it's really not that at all. And I'm glad, Del Toro is so communicative about his work and intentions, because after I listened to the commentary, I realized, like, oh my God, I was focusing on all the wrong things watching this movie. And since then, it's one that I've come to admire much, much more. So I think, yeah, I guess depending on what your expectations are for it, you could love it, you could be disappointed by it. But I think it's one, yeah, definitely to delve into like the features on the disc and to listen to Del Toro talk about it, and yeah, to approach multiple times, for me at least, and probably for a lot of other people, because yeah, I think a lot of people were disappointed by that one, expecting like something like The Conjuring or something like that, and getting a gothic romance, a melodrama instead. But yeah, for what it is, I think it's excellent, and I highly recommend it. Yeah, whether you see it for the first time or yeah, if you saw it once and didn't really care for it, I think it's definitely worth going back to. Oh, Zach Hayes, gotcha. Three Billboards worked for me as well, and it makes more sense now that you say that. But I could have probably watched another 2 hours with the characters. Those were great characters. Yeah, absolutely. The writing and the performances, they really just leapt off the screen. There was some great work in there. Yeah. Um. Oh, Kubrick lover. I can go for dark humor. Seven Psychopaths just didn't work for me. Hey, fair enough. Fair enough. I'm done now. Nice to talk to you. You too, Sasha. Yeah. You guys always, yeah, catch up on stuff in the chat. Yeah, I'm never sure if I should read any of that stuff or just, leave it to you guys. I don't want to get in the way. But yeah, thank you for tuning in, Sasha. Ghost Dog, Way of the Samurai. I do like Ghost Dog. That's a really good one. An underrated Jim Jarmusch one. I guess it has its following, it has its fans. Definitely, yeah, there are people that love that movie. I'm one of them, but I feel like it tends to get overshadowed by something like Dead Man or Down by Law or something like that. But Ghost Dog is really good. Ghost Dog is a really good one. I love the way it blends, gangster movies and, Jarmusch's natural, like, contemplative style, his philosophical style, and the way it blends that, with genre conventions, with the gangster film, with the samurai film. It's really good. A lot of fun, I think. Yeah, I'm definitely a fan of Ghost Dog. I got the DVD back there. I need to rewatch it. I've only seen it once, but I remember loving it. Let's see. Kubrick lover. Don't feel guilty about Barry Lyndon. I think it's a masterpiece, but don't feel like you have to like it. That's finally it. I'm done. No, but I do want to go back to it. I do want to go back to Barry Lyndon and give it another chance. Might, not really care for it so much again, but I do want to, at least give it a second chance, maybe a third chance. Who knows? But, constantly evolving, constantly learning. Yeah, and my appreciation for movies, it gets broader and broader. The more stuff I see, the older I get, So I got to go back to it. Ryan Smith, good film. Oh, Ghost Dog, but Jarmusch's weakest film, in my opinion. Interesting. I don't know. It's not my favorite of his, but I would definitely not call it his weakest. For me, that would be like maybe like The Limits of Control. I didn't really care for Limits of Control so much. Ghost Dog, I thought was very, very good. It would, I don't know. I'm so bad with ranking, but it would be up there for me. It would be up there, in the same group as is probably, you know, Down by Law and Only Lovers Left Alive. I think it's up there. I think Ghost Dog is really good. We're almost to the end here. Olive, my grandmother gives you a kiss. Oh, thank you. That's very sweet. And Zach Hayes. Crimson Peak is definitely interesting. It's more of a gothic romance. Yes, absolutely. More of a gothic romance than a horror film like the trailers misled. Absolutely. Totally agree with you. And yeah, I discovered too late how much Del Toro was trying to stress that point on his Twitter. I was going through his Twitter, you know, shortly after seeing the movie, and yeah, seeing all these tweets he posted, like, don't believe the trailer. This is not a horror film. This is a gothic romance. This is a melodrama. This is not what you think it is. It's like, oh man, I wish I saw that sooner. But luckily, you know, he's got a terrific audio. Every one of Del Toro's audio commentaries is so fascinating, so illuminating, so educational, so informative. Really, I don't think for Del Toro, if you love his movies, you got to listen to the audio commentaries too. And I think it's appropriate because his work is so much a reflection of who he is. You really cannot separate, as much as with any artist out there, you cannot separate Del Toro, the man, from the work that he creates. I mean, the work is him and he is the work. So for me, the audio commentaries are just as much part of the experience because you learn what piece of himself or what pieces of himself is in the movie, is in the story, here and there. You know, whether it's something like Pacific Rim or Blade 2 or Hellboy, you know, something that's more of kind of like of an entertainment, it's still just as personal, you know, as Kronos or Devil's Backbone or Pan's Labyrinth or anything like that. And it's just as fascinating, yeah, learning how much of himself he did put into that movie. And yeah, being able to pick it apart in that way, just as much as being able to appreciate it as its own work, you know, as just a great story and a great film on its own. So yeah, Crimson Peak, yeah, definitely was very much enhanced for me by listening to the audio commentary and then watching it again and realizing, like, this actually is a great movie, but I was just, you know, focusing on the wrong aspects. I was wanting more ghosts and more scares, and it's not that kind of movie. It's something else. But I'm glad, yeah, the commentary's there to bring the intentions out and to make me see it in a different way and to allow me to experience it on its own terms. But that's what I love about Del Toro. And Sasha, thank you. Your stream has removed my headache. Hey, we accomplished something here. All right. And Sasha, I have the Ghost Dog soundtrack too. I love 90s hip hop though, and RZA, of course. Yeah, that's right. I forgot RZA did do the soundtrack. Yeah, that is a good one. I forgot that was another element. There's the gangster movie, there's the samurai movie, and then there's the hip hop layered on top of that, all filtered through Jarmusch's style. It's a great movie. Come on, Ryan, where are you? It's a great movie. Oh, Ryan Smith. It's just my opinion, though, man. It is an awesome movie. Yeah, fair enough. I'm not trying to attack you or anything. But yeah, I do really like Ghost Dog. Oh, and Ryan Smith coming out with some more. Down by Law and Stranger Than Paradise are my favorites. I also always keep going back to Broken Flowers. I forgot about that one. Love that one. I think Broken Flowers is his most underrated. Interesting. Oops, sorry. I think I got a belch brewing. I'm going to try and hold it in until we... No, it's coming. God, I'm so sorry. I should have muted the microphone for that. God, so many ways I've embarrassed myself on the stream. Spilled coffee all over the place, and yeah, now my bodily functions are getting in the way. But we'll bring it to a close in just a second. Oh, Sasha, Mystery Train 2. Yeah, another underrated one. I totally forgot about Mystery Train. But yeah, that's an excellent one too. Ryan Smith. Jarmusch, I think, got me into films as an art form. It's when I really became a fan of cinema after I saw Down by Law. Mystery Train, how could I forget? One of my favorite movies. Again, Ryan Smith. Jiffy Squid. Tom Waits is the best. Jiffy Squid. Is that Tom Waits' character? I'm afraid that reference eludes me. I apologize. Or is it Down by Law? Tom Waits is great in that movie. Mystery Train. God, I'm trying to think now. Hey, that's my plum. I remember that. Screamin' Jay Hawkins. I definitely remember that. But yeah, Mystery Train's great. I love Jarmusch. Yeah, I love Jarmusch. I always forget, yeah, how much great work he's delivered. Yeah, Mystery Train, Ghost Dog. There's so many, yeah, that elude me or escape my memory. Gosh, I wonder if there's more. Broken Flowers. Yeah, I had totally forgotten about. Are there any more? I feel like there's another one waiting there. I can't think of it though. Oh, Ryan Smith. It's a quote from the movie. Tom Waits as the radio DJ. Oh, okay. Jiffy Squid. Gosh, I don't remember that at all. I have to rewatch it again. I totally forgot. Yeah, he was the DJ in that one. Some people think, because he also plays a DJ in Down by Law, some people think it's the same character in both movies. That like he's either assumed a new identity by the time of Mystery Train, or maybe Mystery Train takes place before Down by Law. That's when he was still, a DJ before the events of Down by Law, or possibly after he's come to Memphis and assumed a new identity. I like that though. That's really fun for me, to imagine that those movies are kind of connected in some way or take place in the same universe. I love that. Oh, Ryan Smith. Jiffy Squid is like a radio commercial he does. Oh, I don't remember that at all. Now I'm yeah, I feel like I really got to go back and try and find that. Okay, last few things. Zach Hayes, I need to go back to Crimson Peak, the Crimson Peak commentary. I don't remember if I listened to it or not. I remember he said something that he put the word fear into every scene, but I don't remember catching any. I don't recall that at all. Now I gotta go back to it, damn it. But I love listening to Del Toro. I could listen to that guy talk for hours and hours on end, indefinitely. He's so smart and articulate, and such a deep thinker and such a deep feeler, if I can use such a word. But yeah, he's such a fascinating individual. Everything he says is just endlessly interesting and thought-provoking and entertaining and fascinating. I love that guy. I adore him. And Jack, the only Jarmusch film I've seen is Patterson, which I love. That's a good one. I did remember Patterson, but I figured probably, since that's his newest, I figured probably most people, yeah, remembered that one. You got to see more Jarmusch, though. Definitely go back to Stranger Than Paradise and Down by Law. Start at the beginning. Watch those two, and then, yeah, go through the rest. Go through his other stuff. Dead Man, definitely. You got to see Dead Man. Dead Man's a masterpiece. Dead Man is a masterpiece. I'm starting to get all stuffed up now, so I can't talk anymore. When Tom Waits, he was even good in Smoke. Yes, Smoke. That was a really good one. Oh, Jarmusch. Yeah, sorry. I thought Tom. Am I altering memories now? But yeah, Jarmusch is in Smoke. I thought Tom Waits was too. Maybe not. But yeah, Jarmusch was great in Smoke. He's a surprisingly good actor. He's also in Sling Blade, and he's really good in that one. Yeah, Smoke is really underrated. That one and the companion film, Blue in the Face, is also really good. Lou Reed is in that one, and he's excellent. Sasha, what have I started? Sorry, I mentioned Crimson Peak. But I think that about brings us to the end. Gosh, we went 4 hours this time. But it was fun. It was fun. I had a good time. Okay. So yeah, that about brings another episode of Video Drone to a close. Thank you everyone for joining me. I hope you all had a good time. What does Jack say? When I saw Patterson at the cinema, I actually didn't even know who Jarmusch was. Well, now you know, so that's good. Patterson's an interesting introduction though, because that's, I guess his touch is the lightest in that one. It's really, I guess, his most life-affirming, least cynical film. So it'll be interesting, yeah, if you go back to his other stuff, when he was when he was a bit more cynical. It'll be interesting to see how you react to that. Yeah, Patterson is definitely his least cynical, the film of his, I guess, that has the most humanity and sensitivity. What else? The Tom Waits song "Innocent When You Dream" plays at the end of Smoke. Okay, so there's something Tom Waits in there. I actually remember that. Yeah, I've forgotten about that song. That's a good song though. It's Tom Waits though, so of course. Yeah. Thanks for the stream, Zach Hayes. I definitely enjoyed it. Sasha, it's been real. Thank you. Well, I'm glad you all could be here. Glad you all got something out of it. And I should be back next week. That's the plan, unless, yeah, something happens. When's Christmas? So I might go back home if I have time off from work, go back home for Christmas. But I think I've got a couple more weeks before that happens. But yeah, should be back next week. Hopefully, yeah, talk about some more movies. I'll probably, yeah, try to see The Disaster Artist by next stream. When is the 14th? Because that's when Shape of Water comes out. I'm going to see the hell out of Shape of Water. So if it's the 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th, that's like Thursday or Friday. So I'll probably have seen Shape of Water by the next stream. And yeah, hopefully some other stuff if I get a chance. But yeah, it's been fun. And yeah, it's been Video Drone with me, Disregarding Henry. I never really did an introduction. I always forget that, but oh well. And yeah, I'll hopefully see you all in the next one. Watch some more videos. I got more recommend stuff that I'm posting. And oh, what else we got here? Sasha, that end scene in Smoke brings me to tears. Oh, and the disappearance of Eleanor Rigby. Check it out. I recommend it. Isn't that a Beatles song? But it is also a movie, isn't it? Don't know much about that one. The disappearance of Eleanor Rigby. I'll write this down. Last few moments. Oh, gosh, it's such a long title. Disappearance of Eleanor Rigby. Okay. Got all that down. I'll look into that one. Don't know much about it, actually. Oh, and Jack. That's what I liked about Patterson. It really made me feel good. I don't know how I will react if his other stuff is more cynical. Yeah, you actually might not care for it. But I think you should check it out, though. See if it's to your taste or not. If not, oh well, at least you gave it a shot. But I do think you should, yeah, at least try some of the other stuff. But yeah, so this has been Video Drone. I've been Disregarding Henry. Thank you all for watching, for joining me and hanging out. And yeah, talking movies. Until next time, be good to yourselves and be good to each other, and just try to watch some good movies. Right? Right. Oh, what did Sasha post? Also makes me cry, the Jessica Chastain film. Oh, Disappearance of Eleanor Rigby? Okay. There are 2 different cuts on Blu-ray, chronological and non-linear. Interesting. Thank you for the recommendation, though. Yes. Okay. Oh, Ryan Smith, just quickly, what do you think of Von Trier's The Idiots, Henry? It came up at the beginning of the stream, actually, and I showed off my DVD. But it's been ages since I've seen it. I didn't really care so much for it the first time, but it's been so long that I really think I need to go back to it. And it'll probably be a totally new experience for me watching it again, because I remember so little of it. It was so long ago, but I need to rewatch it. So probably a disappointing answer there at the end, but there you go. Thank you, everyone. Have a good one. Bye-bye.